Hello.
That was super quiet. Did that play? I couldn't hear it. I didn't even know we started.
Oh wow. That was the wrong wrong sound effect right off the start. Let's try this again. Hey. All that for hey.
Hey. No, but did the music play? I didn't even hear it.
You didn't hear the music?
No, the intro music. I couldn't hear it. It's all right.
We're here. Everybody else did.
I hope so too.
Did you hear the sound effects?
No.
Oh no, something's going on here.
Do you have it going through the different microphone?
Oh no.
Different stereo?
Maybe.
Oh, you played like a sound clip from the episode? I love
that. None of that came through?
Not for me. I don't know, maybe
your listeners. We're getting
listeners are listening.
Start here, people.
Did you hear it? Did you hear it, listeners? Tell us. Tell us now.
Oh no. Let me try something else here. All right, 1 second.
We have to do a soundbite-less episode?
We might have to. I'm going to try something here. I might be able to fix this up here.
All right. Well, as much fun as listening to people figure out technical difficulties.
I didn't know this was going to go this way.
What tale could this tell? What tale do you want me to tell, Davan? I'll talk about something while we're
I don't know, man. Can you hear this? Let's try this one.
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay, apparently I broke my
Well, you sound great. The microphone's definitely working better.
Microphone working good, but I broke our sound effects apparently.
That's okay. We can go without if you wish.
I mean, you know what? Oh, let's try one more thing. Talk to the people.
All right.
We're totally ruining this episode, but you know what?
No, we're not. These people understand. They know what it's like. We're just two scrappy X-Men fans trying to make it in this wackaday world, trying to get that
scrappy
money, and we haven't got it yet. Well, what are we drinking tonight, Davan? I'm drinking Terramana tequila.
I'm drinking red wine.
This is not a paid plug, Mr. Dwayne Johnson. If you're listening, I want that money.
Mr. Dwayne Johnson. If you're
Mr. Dwayne Johnson. I'm sure he is. He must be an X-Men fan. Actually, I'm going to save that for my pick for later. For who should he play in the X-Men?
Right.
All right.
Let's hear this one.
How will you greet us?
Absolutely.
You heard that?
I did.
You heard the Shadow King?
I did, but now you seem to be on a delay. Everything you're saying is a little bit ahead of what you're saying on the video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. I can work with it.
But it's not choppy?
No. Oh, wait, say something again.
Hello.
Okay,
Hello,
I think we caught up. I think we're good. I think we're there. Yes, I did hear.
Oh my God.
King.
Let's start the show over.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Hey, toast.
All right. 3 minutes in, we're restarting the show.
Yeah.
How did that sound? Was it choppy?
No, it sounded good.
Oh, we're all set then. Welcome to the X-Men Animated Review Show. I am your host, Davan Shadav King Skellhorn, of course. And I have a co-host as well.
He's not one of them mutants, is he?
He might be. I'm not entirely sure about that.
I mean,
but
probably, if they did exist, I think I would certainly lean towards wanting to be one. That's for sure. But one of the cool ones, not one of the ones that just
introduce me.
Introduce me? Okay, introduce yourself. How about that?
It's only because you can't pronounce my name that I chose today. That's the reason why you want me to do that.
Yeah, it's true. I already messed it up.
It's because this character in this episode calls Mijnari, so my name is Mijnandre. Because even when I watched the episode this morning and heard them say Mijnari, I was like, Mijnandre is pretty close. That's my name for tonight, and it stuck. I was gonna do the Shadandre King, but then I see my my esteemed co-host also chose that. So, and that was even before I knew you did it, but I figured you probably did. So then I course correct it, and here we are. But yes, I am Andre Mayat, but for today I am Mijnandre.
You've been pretty good at predicting my nicknames. I think that's a couple of weeks in a row.
That's right. I have the Nostradamus powers.
We are here to review Season 2, Episode 3, Whatever It Takes, of the
Whatever
X-Men
it
animated
takes.
series. Written by the very famous Julia Roberts.
Not that Julia Roberts.
No.
The other Julia Roberts, also known as Julia Leewald, or Leeward, rather, as we learned when they were on her show.
Written by
Is
Julia
she still Julia
Jane
Roberts at
Lewald
this
as
point?
well.
Does it say Julia
No,
Roberts?
her tag is Julia Jane Lewald on this. Leewald, I should say. But yes, actually, before, if any of you listeners checked out our interview with the Leewalds, before we hit record, they told us a funny anecdote about how her name is actually Julia Roberts, and whereas his name's Eric, if you know about the acting siblings,
yes,
Julia and Eric
Roberts
Roberts,
are brother and sister in real life.
Yeah, they certainly weren't going to go with taking her name.
Yeah, she used to get calls in the phone book.
Yeah.
She lived in LA, didn't she? And her name was Julia Roberts.
Yeah,
in the phone
exactly.
Book.
They
they
told
get
us
like
about
calls
that
from
too.
people.
Yeah, and he'd be like, "No, I'm actually this is Eric," and they'd be like, "Oh, that's fine."
Eric Roberts is there. He
Eric
must be
Roberts,
visiting his sister.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a storm-centric episode, so I'm excited to.
As you should be. Although we'll get it's not. In my opinion, it's not one of the strongest episodes. But we'll get to that.
Oh
when we get to our X ratings. I'm sorry. There's a lot of stuff that they breeze over here that's pretty important, and we'll get to that as we go on.
We beg to differ.
As he's about to take his eye beams off and murder somebody.
I'm about to take my eye beams off on you, Andre.
No, it's still a fine episode. I just feel as far as there's some big gaps in the history of X-Men that don't really explain why all this stuff's going on right now in the history of the show. But we'll get to
regrettable civic upheaval has distracted you, my friend.
No,
that's all I have to say about that.
It is a pretty chaotic world at the moment, and I noticed next episode is about Russia, so that should be interesting, especially what's going on in today's climate.
Well, it's a good thing I switched that up, and we're not actually going to do Red Dawn next week, but we'll talk about that at the end of the show.
Well, okay, we'll talk about that when we get to the episode, but I think it's really funny they call it Red Dawn as well, considering what that movie from the 80s is about. We'll get to that later. All right, so today's episode is episode number 3, Whatever It Takes. Now, you're going to play her previously on?
I certainly am. I figured out this whole... I ruined our intro. I'm all set now.
On X-Men. I sense the lingering presence of something sinister. Avalanche! We walked into a trap.
I just love the on the button, on the nose. I sense something sinister.
Well, he's not named that for no reason. It actually is the perfect description of his thought patterns.
I always find it odd when villains, like, I get it. Like, it works for me in movies and TV shows when they're like, hey, this guy's a scientist who got 8 arms. His name's Octavius. Let's call him Dr. Rock. And then, like, the newspapers name him. That makes more sense to me in kind of a trying to broach real life with comic book scenario than when someone goes, even Victor Von Doom, like, at least his name is Von Doom. So Dr. Doom works, although technically it should be Dr. Von Doom.
Should be Dr. Von Doom.
But, when a guy's like, I'm going to call myself Mr. Sinister, like, villains don't think what they're doing is evil. And if they do, then they're totally out to lunch.
He probably does. I think he does.
Well, I mean, you'd have sinister.
I think he knows stealing everyone's DNA and just doing whatever you want with it is not cool. I'm pretty sure he actually does know that.
That's the norm now. Like, that's not even like
I mean, like Ancestry.com does it,
exactly.
but like,
they have my DNA. I did 23andMe, so they got Andre clones out there somewhere. But
Sinister.com, maybe
the Brotherhood of Evil. Like, no villain. Like, Hitler didn't call his group the Axis of Evil.
And
he thought he was right.
In recent times, they've changed that to just the Brotherhood of Mutants.
Yes, of course. But when it started, and even to this day, it still permeates. I mean, the
60s were a bit campy.
Was it the Baron Zemo's group, the Masters of Evil? Like, come on.
Well, yeah, they haven't changed that, but Zemo's not a good guy.
Yeah, they did. They were the Thunderbolts. Zemo's a fine guy. Like as far as villains go, at least he's aristocratic and fun in some ways. So
he
I'll give
was
him
great in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
He sure was. That was a nice course correction for that character. He went from being kind of generic in Civil War to actually having a, and I honestly, like as a big Spider-Man fan when I was a kid, and I think this may apply to X-Men inadvertently, is there was a comic where Spider-Man is trapped in the sewers with Vermin and Helmet Zemo, whatever one. It's not the current Zemo. I think it was the current Zemo's father, the one whose face got melted when he fell in lava. Yes. So, and I believe he had like a legion of like, I think they were Morlocks or some kind of weird mutant creatures that he was sort of looking after, and his face is all melted and gooey. But it was that was one of the few comics I had growing up, like that I read a lot before I started getting more. And so Zemo always kind of was an interesting character, even though I was introduced to him through Spider-Man and not the usual channels, i.e. Captain America or the others.
Not to get off on a Spider-Man tangent, but the comic I can think of with Vermin is Kraven's Last Hunt.
Yes, which is probably the most famous.
Great story.
Although Vermin is a fun character, not one that is used very often in Spider-Man comics.
No.
Well, he works at Ravencroft. He's just like a normal guy. That's like he's kind of like the Lizard, but without being like a crazy scientist. He's just like a regular guy that's afflicted with something horrible. And one of those characters that'll probably get his own Sony Marvel movie the way they're cranking him out.
Oh, yeah. So, Morbius and then Vermin.
Anybody lightly connected to Spider-Man gets his own movie now. We got a Morbius and a Kraven the Hunter movie coming, so who knows what's next.
I mean, Morbius has nothing to do with Spider-Man other than that he debuted in his comic.
Yeah, well, and it was all based around that storyline where Spider-Man had the 6 arms, and he was trying to find someone genetically to help him get rid of that, which does tie back to X-Men later when there's the crossover episode. However, yes, Morbius himself, and then he went on to become a big part of the Marvel kind of supernatural side of things, along with Blade and Moon Knight and all those guys. So it seems like the Marvel cinematic universe proper is heading in that direction, but Morbius is an outlier since it's still owned by Sony. It's so funny because Sony, I mean, we don't get to go on a whole tangent, but I think going on tangents is kind of our brand. Sony is just trying to grab everything. Like they did well with Venom because Venom's a very popular character, despite the fact those movies are not very good. I'm sorry.
No, but I will say the first one was better than I was expecting. I was expecting to hate it, and it was okay.
I laughed more than I expected. I wouldn't say it was a masterpiece. I'd say what I say when people ask me when it came out is I said it's fine. It's fine. Soup is fine. I like soup. I don't really crave soup. I don't go to my way to have soup, but when I have soup, it's fine.
Oh, you've never had my soup, my friend.
Well, we'll have your soup. It depends the type of soup. Let's say it's whatever generic boring soup is, chicken noodle soup or something. But for instance, the second one was atrocious in my opinion.
I didn't even bother watching.
Really bad. There's a lot of just because in the plot, which always makes me angry when I run into that.
Look, I thought the first one was as good as a movie as you can make out of what is basically a terrible character. Now, let me just pause that for a second. The Venom character in the last couple of years of comic books has gotten a lot better, and I actually like the character now. But Eddie Brock. Oh, Eddie Brock is
okay. They brought him
way better character in the last couple of years.
But the last couple of years, they've just brought him back to what he was when he first became Lethal Protector, where he was just like fighting for the homeless in San Francisco. That's like what they're doing with him again, aren't they? They're bringing it back to what
now, but I mean more in
when they got all this
Black storyline.
This cosmic stuff with Null, the symbiote.
Yeah, that's actually made the character way better, believe it or not.
Really?
Right, well, I didn't like the whole thing before. It was just edgy. How do we make Spider-Man edgy?
I liked it when it was debuted. And I mean, Spider characters in general, and this isn't just Spider-Man, in comics, if they're new characters, there's very few that have staying power. And Venom's not even a new character if you look at the actual time period. Because he came out in the 90s. Battle World was in the 80s, but it was late 80s when they did the Venom, actually made him Venom. So that's still 40 years ago.
It is nice when a new character hits, though. Like Laura Kinney, for example. X-23 is pretty popular.
That's true. There are a few here and there.
Miles Morales.
Miles Morales is the biggest one, I'd say. Certainly the
one.
Yes, and she's getting a show as well. So there are a few. But
Rich, the trailer looked pretty good, by the way.
Yes, I did watch that today. It does look very good. I'm excited to see that as well, which is fun because she's a prominent character in the Avengers video game for the PlayStation. So I didn't know much about her, but I'm learning as I'm playing her in the game, and it's fun. I'm gonna look.
She's a delightful character.
She is. She's fun. I like it. And I'm hoping maybe they'll get, Marvel will do a proper like Champions or like Young Avengers group and have her in it with, it looks like Ant-Man's
I do believe they're setting that up.
And maybe we'll get Kid Immortus or Kid Iron Lad, who we all know is secretly Kang from a different divergent timeline, which they're leaning hard into. But, we'll see what happens come Doctor Strange, which we can talk about later. I feel like our X97 talking segment could also be talking about stuff going on in the X-Men world in general, because there's, stuff happening right now that's kind of interesting. All right, so back to this episode.
It definitely can.
What are we, 16 minutes in, and we're now getting to the synopsis.
Well, the first 4 minutes was me trying to figure out what I messed up.
That is true. But I have worked.
We're here, and luckily in the audio only version, I'm gonna delete all that. So.
Oh, what? No, come on. That's good. It's gold. It's gold. It's gold, baby. That's the realism. That's what the people. That's what the people want. They want to hear. They want to hear us fumble. You
want to be my latex salesman.
To quote the Green Goblin, what people love most is to see a hero fail.
Yeah. Quote an X-Men villain next time on this show, why don't you?
Okay, last Divergent. I quoted Blade today at work in a scenario that
Blade today.
Blade.
Who even knows many quotes from Blade?
So, two of my coworkers were both complaining about one an older lady, and I wouldn't say old, but not young, and a young man who's in his early 20s. Were both complaining about the mutual facts that they're both not without partners at the moment. One more recent than the other, and
sounds like a match made in heaven. Did you hook that up or what?
I really don't think that's going to happen. But they were both complaining about their their virtual own issues, which may have led to them getting into relationships that probably aren't the best ones to be in. And then I looked at Justice, who's my coworker, and said his name is Justice, which is hilarious. I said I'm going to quote
also a young Avenger.
Yes. I'm going to quote Wesley Snipes from Blade to you, and he goes, "What's that?" And I said, "Some fuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill." That's what I said.
That is a good one, actually. Yeah.
Especially when it comes to sabotaging your own relationships. But anyway, here we go with the plot for Whatever It Takes, Season 2, Episode 3, in which we have a storm-centric episode, kind of picking up where the last episode left off. And we'll get to that as we go along. Not really, kind of, and it's weird. But anyway, we start.
Should we set the mood?
Ooh.
Just gonna say this show has the best music of any cartoon of all time.
This is some pretty great music.
Every episode has a different style of music, and it's always really good.
As we set the scene in Africa, I don't know if they say exactly where. Did they say the village name or what country specifically in Africa?
I believe she's from Kenya.
Okay. So we see a group of young African boys playing soccer near a village in Africa. There is one named Missionary who is running
in this episode.
No, they don't. Okay. Who has apparently a mutant ability to run very fast. And we see him running amongst his friends and hitting the ball and having fun, outrunning jungle cats and various things, cheetahs along the plains and the desert. So kind of indicating his abilities. It seems as though his friends and everyone in the village knows about this, and no one is judging or caring about it. But as they are playing, he sees a tear open in the fabric of reality on the side of a mountain above the shoulders of his friends, in which he sees a black armored being who we eventually know as the Shadow King tear his way out and then possess him.
Only sense it.
You're getting ahead of me.
No, I didn't mean to. Hold on.
Get to that part yet.
Hold on.
You're teasing.
You are teasing.
Yes, that looks closer to what we're looking at, considering the Legion television show version of the Shadow King.
Or that is from the animated series set, so that is.
Oh, okay. So then, yes, of course, it looks like the one from the episode. The flaming sword must come later because I don't think he had that in this episode.
Yeah, maybe. Oh no, I think that's when he fights Xavier in a later episode in the astral plane.
Well, I hope to God they explain what happened, because they certainly don't explain how he
Look,
got.
we're
going
to get into that, Andre.
There. All right, and that's my biggest issue with this, but we'll get to that later. So the Shadow King emerges from the tear, possessed of the boys. You see his eyes glow red, his voice changes, aping that of the creature that came out of the rift. And then we cut to Jean Grey, as you played in the soundbite there.
She can't see it, but she can feel it.
I can't see it, only sense it.
In which she's using Cerebro and sensing some kind of terror in the fabric of reality, because Cerebro does everything in this series. It can find mutants, it can allow you to talk to mutants, it can allow you to read minds, it can let you find other people, it can also let you discover terrors in reality. It really is a multifunctional device that can do almost anything.
It was the iPhone of its day.
It is certainly the Deus Ex Machina of this series, in which it is used quite frequently to put them in the situation they need to be put in for the plot to progress. But anyway, my favorite part of this is she's like noticing there's like some kind of tear in the fabric of reality or something going on that's not right in Africa, while Beast walks by and notices. He goes, well, that wasn't there before. Like, I was studying this map of Africa yesterday and I didn't notice a tear in the astral plane. Like, this is an odd thing to say. Like, that wasn't there before. Like, how would you even know?
Wait, right next to Wakanda too. So strange.
Look what this cat drug in.
So they discover, as Rogue does, and as they notice that there is some kind of a tear in the astral plane, is what they come to figure, based on this tear with Cerebro, and the group decide to get in the old Blackbird.
Well, Storm notices that it's her home village.
Right, of course she is. Sorry, that is true. So Storm returns from the hospital after being shot up by the police with their full energy weapons in the previous episode.
Which there's a good line about it.
Out of the hospital so soon?
She told him she'd flood the kitchen if they didn't release her today.
But she was like in a riot and shot down by the police. Why is she not in custody? Like, wouldn't the police have more questions?
Look, that police brutality was caught on camera, Andre.
Yeah, okay. In the 90s, everybody's carrying around camera phones with them and camcorders.
Well, no, but you think legit reporters probably show up to superhero battles.
I guess, like Juggernaut robbing a bank. It's still pretty unclear about who the aggressor was. They made Beast look like he was the jerk in that situation. And I really think it's funny that they go back to making Beast look bad right after they had a whole season of Beast looking bad. Like, why couldn't they make another X-Men look bad? Yeah, the first season he was in jail because
but how did they make him look bad the second time?
Because they took
because he's like with the gun and everything. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they made him look like he was like being aggressive with a gun when he was just defending people or trying.
Well, now he's a known criminal, so it's
again like it's after he was pardoned by the president, like right after they get him on the news brandishing a weapon in front of a bunch of people in a crowd. It's pretty hard to say it wasn't him. He's the only giant blue furry ape cat thing that's hanging around at this point. So, astral plane trouble.
We're not certain.
Astral plane troubles are transpiring, and the group decide to go off and go and look. Meanwhile, we look in on old Wolverine.
Oh, you know what though? Here's something.
What?
I thought this was kind of funny.
My guess, and that's all it is that our friend Bishop's time travel may have had far greater consequences than we imagined.
So Beast thinks it's a time thing, like a rift in time.
Well, I believe that may have been inserted to indicate, because as glancing at the synopses for the various episodes. I think it's synopsis. No, but multiple synopses. Synopses must be, because like neuroses, nemesis. Yeah. Anyway, synopses of coming episodes would indicate that there is something related to Bishop's time travel screwing up further timelines. So I'm guessing this is something, i.e. Cable specifically, but I'm thinking this is something to maybe just put that little germ in your head so you're ready for it when it comes down the pipe later.
Could be. I have a theory that I'm going to save for X points.
All right. So then we cut the old Wolverines in the Amazon looking for Morph. Who he believes is down there. He's on a boat with a guy with a monkey, as you played earlier.
Now, let me get this straight. You're looking for someone, but you don't know what he looks like, because he can look like anybody.
Okay, I feel like that's a celebrity impression, but I
It
cannot.
sounds like
figure out
Vinnie
who it
Jones,
is.
but this is sort of before Vinnie Jones was
Kind
a really
of, or
popular
like
person.
Jason Statham or something.
This is also
But
before Jason Statham was anybody.
yeah,
I mean, Jason
so I
Statham,
don't
one of
know.
his early movies was oh crap, the John Carpenter movie on Mars.
I just found it funny that he's like on a boat in the Amazon, and that's what his captain sounds like.
He's like a super Cockney English bloke.
Or is he? It's like
Boy.
mixed Cockney mixed with Australian. It's the weirdest accent.
Yeah,
I can't
kind of,
even
but it
place
does sound a little bit like Pyro, but just amped up a little more. Like they've kind of made him a little more English. And he's got this pet monkey that Wolverine befriends, and the guy's speaking ill of mutants because they don't really like their kind around there. When he turns around
down in the Amazon.
and like there's a guy there telling you that he's looking for a dude that can turn into anybody or look like anybody. Of course, you're going to assume in a world of mutants, this guy's probably a mutant. What else would he be? I mean,
Yeah, I know. He's just a guy who just turns into other people.
Yeah,
because
he's just a really good makeup artist, is what.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm looking for my good friend, professional makeup artist,
a good facial impressionist, like, a Jim Carrey type.
And you got to come up with a name for him, like Joe Morphington or something that sounds normal instead of just called him Morph, which also sounds like he's probably some kind of a superhero or villain. So yeah, Wolverine disappears.
Rick and Morphy? That's a real name.
Oh, I like that. So he's on the trail of his old buddy Morph because he's the only one that can make him laugh, as we learned.
And he understands what he's thinking. Like, I really think that's part of Wolverine's motivation here.
Kind of, although we'll get into that as we go along. So anyway, Storm and Rogue.
Oh yeah, true. All right.
I have a few beefs with that too, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I do too, actually.
Storm and Rogue go to Africa to investigate the tear through dimensions. When they arrive, they find the village is on fire. Storm manages to call the rain to put out the fire. I feel
Nature, respond to my command! A wall of rain to quench the flames!
I feel like if you are a person who can make it rain in Africa and possibly help save millions
that you should do it more often
from starvation, you probably shouldn't run off and join a superhero group in another continent where it rains plenty. Maybe hang around and just help your continent not have people dying all the time. That might help,
I assume she at least goes back to her home village on a bi-yearly basis to.
I mean, it seems so easy for her to make it rain. Just make the continent better. Just make more food. Make it rain on gardens and.
You know what? Storm's power is pretty extensive. I don't think she needs to be there to make it rain there. Maybe she does, like,
but
all the time.
Shouldn't Africa be like a virtual paradise then if she's working her magic on a regular basis?
Have you ever been to Wakanda?
Yeah, well, that's unrelated to Storm because they're under a a holographic mountain, where they're hiding their advanced civilization. Anyway, I digress. Your Storm, you being a Storm apologist for the has been known for quite some time.
Yeah, this episode's gonna be a battle. This episode,
but I surmise that sheer powers could be better used elsewhere and not bitch slapping the Blob.
That's a lot of pressure to put on one lady. Hey, make it rain everywhere as it needs to rain on Earth.
With great power comes great responsibility.
No, it must also come great responsibility. So it must be chosen, and she did not choose.
Must. Okay, well then she's a horrible person. If you could choose to make the world better and you choose not to, you're a monster.
You don't think Storm makes the world better? Oh, we're gonna have trouble.
She makes the world better by punching guys in colorful costumes. It'd be much better if she was actually saving hundreds of thousands to millions of people at a time by making food grow in areas that it doesn't, where people are starving.
I don't like the way this episode's going so far. It started off bad.
My job is to inject reality into this thing that shouldn't have reality injected into it. So I love Storm. She's a wonderful character, and I totally understand why you love her so much. And the Italian job as well.
Oh, Jamil's checking in, and the Italian job as well. Oh.
The freaking movie?
We were talking about movies.
Were we? We were talking about movies.
The Italian job.
Jamil, elaborate. We don't know.
Jamil, elaborate.
Elaborate. We don't know what you're saying.
I think I got to your comment too late that we forgot what it was about.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Well, I'm glad he's tuning in because Jamil's awesome.
Yeah. We like Jamil on X-Rated.
So he laughed at my jokes.
Though he may be the sinister new villain from last episode. There's no way to know.
He laughed at my jokes way more than you do, which means I like him better. I might swap him in.
I can't laugh at your jokes. I'm busy thinking of my own.
I wouldn't trade you for the world, Davan.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Oh, here we go. He's elaborating. Jason Statham.
Oh, Statham was in the Italian Job. Oh, right. So I mentioned one of his early movies was the John Carpenter. God, why can't I think of the name of that movie? Mars. I love
Ghost
John
of
Carpenter.
Mars.
Ghost of Mars.
That's not a good movie.
Hey, John Carpenter.
Hey, I love John Carpenter. Hey, so I say that with like trepidation.
Well, look, I watched John Carpenter's Vampires last night or 2 days ago.
Vampires is better than Ghost of Mars.
It actually is pretty good. Like it's like James Woods is in it. I'm like, but like, and Daniel Baldwin, who's by far the lesser Baldwin. But there's
several Baldwins to choose from, and he is not the least of the Baldwins, at least.
Well, anyway, it has the girl that played Laura Palmer in Twin Peaks in it, which is pretty wonderful. And the bad guy Varric is Terry Silver from Karate Kid 3 and Cobra Kai. So that's nice. Oh, the one. Yeah, I remember that movie too.
I didn't see the
timing
one.
in that he was in the one with Jet Li.
Jamil's a movie encyclopedia, really a pop culture encyclopedia.
Jamil could have a movie off for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right. So
I now am suspicious of Andre trying to replace me with Jamil on this podcast.
Hey, Jamil, call me. I've never tried that.
Boy.
What we have is real. It's just a dalliance that me and Jamil have.
Oh wow!
But it's what I'm willing to explore, Jamil,
all the time. It's the professional wrestler in him. He goes to a new town, he dalliances, and then he forgets you.
No! Don't get me in trouble. I just mean I'm a happily married man.
I didn't mean that way. Oh my!
Listen,
Sorry, Mrs. Mayette. That's not what I was.
She does not have my last name.
Oh well.
She kept her own.
Is it cooler than Mayette?
Yeah, it is actually. I mean, I'd say it's different. Mayette's like not common outside of my area, and hers I've never seen on anybody except her relatives. So.
Oh wow.
Anyway, so why is my phone ringing? No one from Ontario is calling me.
No, your wife's calling you, being like, "Don't talk about me on your stupid X-Men podcast."
That's right. She would probably say that. Storm puts out the fires. Then we meet an old friend of Storm's, Shani, who tells Storm that Missionary has caused the fires and the destruction.
Oh, Missionary's mother, was it not?
Yes, it is. But I hate when shows give you some kind. You can tell when the ad breaks are in the show, like when someone says something that's provocative or alarming, and then they're going to cut to a break to get you to come back.
They say it again.
Yeah, and then they say it again when they come back just to remind you. But someone's like, Missionary is my son, Storm says. And it's like, oh, she has a son. And then it cuts to break. And later on, they're like, well, no, not actually.
Well, not my real son.
It's Shani's son. But Shani was sick when she had a difficult birth, and Storm actually breathed life back into the baby that they thought may have been dead.
See, and then Storm saves lives, Andre. She saves lives in small situations. She saves lives in big situations.
Listen, as a student of philosophy, I have to say the Kant scenario in which, as a Kant, utilitarianism in which every sacrifice you could make to make life better for other people, you should make, is one that I don't necessarily fully subscribe to, but I think it's one that we need to certainly lean towards more than we're doing. So,
I think Storm does.
Okay, well, we'll have to
Show
have
us
a
where
debate.
this missionary character's at, and Storm and I'll go put a little fierce storm into him.
Little fierce
Teach him
storm
some
into him.
manners.
You know why she said that? Because Storm is a goddess.
Rogue's quite the bruiser too. She's like, the Templaries, we'll go beat the hell out of him. It's like maybe ask him if something's going on or he's having some problems. Maybe life's not good at home. So yeah, we learned that Storm is friends with Shani. I think I'm pronouncing that right, Shani. And
more like family, you could say.
Yeah, she breathed life back into the baby and then raised it while Shani was recovering from her difficult birth. So,
not to mention, made it rain countless times on this parched African village.
Probably for the worst when she did it for like 20 years and then was like goodbye and disappeared forever. Like, no, this is keeping us alive. She's like, I need to eat, pray, love my way through America. I'm out. Goodbye.
Look, she she refilled up the groundwater, Andre.
Mhm.
All those rain she did while she was there saturated the groundwater so that these wells in her village were bountiful
This is
with
all
fresh, clean
conjecture. You
water
have
for
no idea this
decades after.
background.
I am a sustainable landscaper, Andre. I think I know these things. But anyway, I
Okay, so
digress.
that lets you read mountain pages of story that weren't included in the actual story. So
It
well,
does. It
I bow
does.
to you, sir. I bow to your knowledge of the environment and Storm's activities in Africa. So where we go here? So yeah, Storm manages for the fires. They tell him that Missionary did it. We learn about Storm Missionary's connection. Meanwhile, Wolverine finds Morph, who's posing as a bartender in the Amazon. And then
Do you get his joke?
What was the exact joke again?
Every night at 5, he turns into a bar. Get it?
And he even ends it
bar?
with "get it," and I'm like, no, I don't. I don't, Morph. I
That's
don't
an
get it.
old joke.
At 5, he turns into a bar. What? I don't know. That makes no sense to me.
See,
More
let's
thought
see
it
if we
was
can find the joke.
hilarious.
Is that from Dusk Till Dawn? Never mind.
No, that's after this show.
We'll look this up later because I'm not going to find it this quickly if I look into
Yeah. At 5, he turns into a bar.
I think it's a man walks into a bar joke, but I'm not quite sure.
It has to be
what the punchline or leads to that is.
Yeah. See, that's another thing we could have asked Eric and Julia Leewald when they were on the show.
Well, we should have watched the whole damn series.
Yeah, well,
I did like that I get to ask them why Wolverine hates Gambit so much, and they didn't really have an answer. But I still thought it was a good question.
But they were like, "Good point, he does."
All right, so yeah, Morph posts the bartender. Wolverine, can smell that it's him. He takes on his form. They get in a bit of a fight. Morph escapes. Actually, first, does Morph take on the form of Jean Grey in this one right here, or is it later?
Is it here,
or when they're underground?
First Wolverine has this.
Whatever you're going through, Morph, I've been there. The professor saved me. I'm gonna save you.
He feels like they have a connection on that level, and he's the guy that has to be his professor. But then, yes, he
all I can think about is how much I'm in love with Cyclops.
It's like just
such a burn.
Just wrecks Wolverine, like to the point that he's like almost an emotional mess, and then gets knocked down by Morph, who then escapes. Like, you got to know, if you're going after a guy who'd sabotage your team that could take the form of anybody else, he's probably going to take the form of people you know and try to mess with you. Why would you suddenly freeze up, being like, "Oh, it's Jean"? It's like, it's not Jean. You watched him turn into her. Like, know.
Well,
you're a super soldier that was created by the Canadian government for covert missions, and you can't like deal with a small amount of mental, I wouldn't even say torture, but like subterfuge. Come on.
They didn't train him in anti-redhead techniques.
Oh, that is important. I'm married to a redhead, so I wish I would have got
that's been a hole in the Canadian espionage system for quite frankly decades.
They ruin everything. He's certainly been my kryptonite.
But yeah, as you've said, like Wolverine takes things regarding Jean and Cyclops psychotically bad. So his answer to Morph's little joke there was,
yeah. It's quite a yell. But he collects himself and goes after Morph again into the wilds of Borneo. Now it's the Amazon, but back to the cable reference.
Yeah,
so then we come back to Storm and Rogue. And Shawnee states how when we already figured all that stuff. I already went into all that. So then Missionary in the chat, Missionary arrives and talks to them out of nowhere. Like, they're just talking outside. Like, there's some weird, this is the part where it falls apart for me. There's some really hard cuts here where they're just talking, and all of a sudden there's a cut and he's talking to them and he's right there and they're like, "Oh," and then they recognize his voice as the Shadow King, which Rogue says that's the Shadow King. I thought
they've met him before.
Where? When? On the show?
No, not on the show.
But they should have had.
And I understand why that bothers you, but I don't mind that they're filling in some backstory of the X-Men before we joined them, because they clearly existed as a team for a while before that first episode.
That's true, but anything.
I don't mind like getting some of that, because clearly they've met some villain before then. Like they hadn't met Magneto yet. They hadn't met Juggernaut yet. Well, they did know about Juggernaut, so maybe they had met him.
No, they didn't meet him, but they just knew of him. But like the idea, okay, so if you bring out a villain now on a show that's predominantly about mutants fighting other mutants or humans that are trying to stop those mutants, and you suddenly introduce a character who is essentially not a physical being because they haven't even described what he is. We just know that only Missionary could see him and see the whole in reality for some reason, which is never explained.
That was I think because of his connection to Storm.
Okay, and number two, he is some kind of a metaphysical creature that exists outside of normal reality. Number three, the professor trapped him on the astral plane. These are all pretty provocative statements and things that happened in the past to just gloss over in a sentence or less of dialogue when explaining who this character is. They're like when she's like, that's the Shadow King. Didn't the professor banish him to the astral plane? Like, why?
Look, you got 22 minutes. You don't have time to get him into the astral plane, and it's very dramatic to have him coming out of the astral plane, and it gives you your way. Well, as we'll get later in the episode, but it gives you your way to defeat him as well. Because
come on,
without that prison of the astral plane, Storm and Rogue aren't going to defeat the Shadow King.
But it's insane to say the professor just sent this guy off to the astral plane without explaining anything else. At no point, we didn't even know an astral plane existed. That's something that's metaphysical in space.
They did mention it actually one previous time, I think, on the show.
That's something that's predominantly in magic, in Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange stuff. And to be like, oh, the professor has access to it, at least.
He does that all the time.
Well, we have not seen it yet. That's all I'm saying. Is they've thrown an awful lot at us that we have not seen before or have no recollection of whatsoever to just swallow. I mean, I get that they had other adventures, and that's fine. But just throw all that stuff at you in a half sentence is a lot. Too much.
I see where you're coming from, Andre, but I do think they're going to answer a lot of your questions in the next Shadow King episode because it's more of a Shadow King versus Xavier next season, I think. But it's Shadow King versus Xavier, and it's where he has the flaming sword.
Well, then I predict, I surmise, and I haven't seen that episode, that they should perhaps have done that episode first and then this one. But
you know what though?
They could have had.
I kind of like it when, and they do this in other series and certainly in comics all the time. I like when they give you this mysterious altercation with a villain first, and they often do that. And then flesh it out later because then you have all this mystery.
It's not normally for instance, when Venom showed up, we didn't know who or what he was in Spider-Man. Eventually, he explains how he's connected to the symbiote. We've all seen the symbiote. We know that story before, so it fits in. It'd be like if someone showed up and was doing all this horrible stuff, and then they talk about this a lot, they've known him for years or fought him 6 years ago. Usually in those scenarios on shows or comics, they explain it better than just saying, oh, hey, they didn't even explain where he came from, why they fought him. They just said, didn't the Professor X banish him to the astral plane? And that's a really, that's a lot to unpack for this. I'm not saying
all of that I think is fine, but I do agree with you on, I think there could have been a couple more sentences that explain the astral plane better.
Yeah,
how it's accessed by
what the Shadow King is.
Telepathic beings and such.
Yeah, even explaining that would have made some sense to say, well, he's even if, because Shawnee's standing right there who doesn't know anything about this. So if they even explained to her what had happened before in a few sentences, that would have opened things up way more than the way they did. I know they only have so much time.
Well, they didn't know it was Shadow King when they were talking to Shawnee. That's something they probably would have had to pick up in this. Because in the scene we're talking about now. Well,
because when he attacks or when he shows up as missionary possessed by Shadow King, he tells Storm to go meet him at the base of this mountain, and then he leaves. So they have to go to the mountain. So in that time, they could have explained to her what happened to her son, which might, it will fill in the rest of the
It's Kilimanjaro, I think.
I believe it is. So, well, I think it just says nearby mountain is what I see here. So I didn't write that down, but maybe they did specifically say it. I feel like if they had just omitted maybe the Wolverine morph stuff and saved that for later and put this in for the time, that would have I guess they had to put Wolverine in because he's a popular character, but I feel like that would have helped alleviate some of my hang up on this episode.
This episode didn't need the two other storylines, the Magneto
really
Professor and
that one's even.
I did like those scenes, but it did kind of detract.
So do I. But I'm going to complain about them too.
Andre was in a bad mood when he watched this.
I'm not in a bad mood. I just feel like
save it for what's wrong with Andre.
No, the show has such great writing, and sometimes when it really doesn't. Like, I'm not saying it's bad writing. It's obviously there's a lot of factors that play than just the writing here. But I feel like the standard is set rather high by previous episodes. That sometimes when you go into this one, I feel like things could have been fleshed out a lot better. Anyway, they go to the mountain. Shadow King tells Storm that he wants to possess her instead of this boy. He just did this basically to get her there. Which is rather convenient that he managed to rip his way out of the astral plane right beside her godson and possess him.
Storm is occupied at present. Kindly leave us before you anger her.
Oh, I jumped ahead. Oh well.
Yes, that's fine. So Rogue tries to use her powers in Storm to remove the Shadow King from her. It doesn't work because she agrees to let Missionary go and the Shadow King possess her. So she becomes possessed. And then
that's when he says Storm is occupied.
Yes, in which he says that, which is fun. It's kind of like a call waiting message for the storm you were looking for.
I like Shadow King a lot in this episode.
Yeah, I like his voice and I like his general look. I think he's pretty cool. I would like to know what he is because I really don't know that much about him as a being in X-Men history. So I would have been preferred to have just a hint of what that is. I
found this line of his pretty hilarious.
Rogue, no! He will destroy you!
No, I won't. Come closer.
No, I won't.
No, I won't.
Come closer.
I'm a benevolent metaphysical being. So
he's just like, no,
not me. He looks like, if you look at what he looks like, he looks evil as shit. Like he's this giant,
he's just an evil head,
sharp-toothed, red-eyed, deep-voiced monster, and he's like, no, not me.
No, come closer. I have candy.
I would kill you with kindness.
Destroy.
That's right. I will destroy you with kindness. So then we cut back to Wolverine, who tracks Morph into a mine shaft, which is just an odd place for him to go hide into. Especially when he can become a bird and just fly away. Like, why is he running on foot while Wolverine's chasing him?
It's true. I've never seen him turn into a bird. Maybe he's a bad flyer.
So they briefly fight. Morph turns into various members of Wolverine's past, which is interesting as to how he knows all these people, i.e. Deadpool again.
So you made me mad. Happens all the time. You should see me in line at the post office.
That's a good line.
You might look like me, but you don't fight like me.
Which again brings me back to that episode where Jubilee's like, I gotta shoot one of them. It's like, no, Jubilee, you don't. Hold on. Morph does not fight like Wolverine.
That's true. And he did. He beat the crap out of him until Morph. But then Morph quickly took the
turns
form
into
of
Sabretooth.
Yeah, he took
the
form
Rhino.
Of Deadpool. He took the form of Omega Red. He took the form of
Rhinoceros,
a panther, and a rhinoceros. So he's throwing everything at Wolverine and basically messes him up again. Leaves them behind and tells them to leave him be and runs off. And Wolverine, I guess, got the message and says, we'll be waiting for you when you're ready, basically.
I thought that was a powerful line, actually.
You never listen.
I have to get through this by myself!
He just sounds like an angry teenager. Like, leave me alone, Mom. I got to figure this out all by myself.
But he just strikes me as a guy who just wants peace and quiet for a couple weeks, and he just can't get it.
I guess once again, I just feel like they could have tagged this on to the end of the last episode. Like, he literally could have approached Morph before he got on the plane to escape and had this whole interaction in the same way.
I actually like it better this way. I like that he's,
I guess, but it just seems
trying
like
to find him and trying to track him down.
Yeah, I suppose.
And Morph is running, and he knows Wolverine's trying to track. I like that, actually.
In order to streamline things, I feel like I would have done it that way. That's just me. But hey, I mean, it's fine. I like the Wolverine story. I like the Morph story. I hope it pays off in some way that's important later. But we shall see. So, we come back to what's going on in the with Storm and Rogue in the A plot, I will call it, since the B plot is probably Wolverine and the C plot is the Stinger at the end, which seems to be a recurring theme. So
this season they just save a nice Professor Magneto scene for the end.
Yeah, so Storm, retaining some control over mind and body, flies into the upper atmosphere, deciding to kill herself and suffocate in the atmosphere.
I may not be able to stop you, but I can destroy you by destroying us.
See, I would argue that maybe Storm is the greatest of all comic book characters. How selfless has she been in this series so far? Like, every 3 or 4 episodes, she does something so self-sacrificing.
Okay, every hero has done something like this at some point in their career. The Flash ran so fast to keep reality from falling apart, he died. Like, that's all of reality. Like, obviously, it's a bigger sacrifice.
Is he still dead?
No, but Storm died.
Apparently a sacrifice.
So did everybody else. I mean, he stayed dead until the late 2000s. Like, that's pretty good.
I take that back. X-Men.
Like 50 years. Yeah, the X-Men have a whole machine when none of them can die and they come back immediately. So,
they do.
There's that too.
It's called Cerebro.
Yeah. Anyway, no, it's like the Genesis. Oh yeah, right. The machine that does everything.
Professor does it with Cerebro, and then 5 mutants that are called the 5 that have this special combination of powers
to let you just move someone's consciousness into a new body whenever they die.
Well, no, look, gold balls turns out those gold balls are actually eggs, so he makes an egg, and then like
the character called Gold Balls.
You don't know Gold Balls?
I do, but it's so stupid.
Like, well,
Gold Balls.
I think he's a Bendis creation.
Like gold egg even sounds better than gold balls.
Well, see, they call him Egg now because they turned out to be eggs. So then, like, Proteus kind of fertilizes it, I believe, somehow. And then Tempest
like
uses her time powers to, like,
spray semen
speed
on
up
like
the germination process. And then, God, who else is in the 5? Hope Summers is there to just make everybody's powers more powerful. And then there's, like...
He fertilizes?
And, like, Elixir, because he has all those... Elixir does the fertilizing, because he has all those healing powers and biological powers. And then Proteus just kind of, like... warps reality to make it all work.
Now more than ever is just one giant sex joke. I mean, I know Ethan Van Sciver got in trouble for hiding the word sex in like every panel on
I have that issue, and he signed it for me, and he wrote sex on his signature.
Perfect.
No, he drew a dick. I don't know. I'll have to pull. I'll pull that out for
one
of these episodes.
So, I know that it's always kind of been there, but I feel like got characters named Gold Balls that are getting like the eggs are being fertilized, like a frog where they just spray semen on it. Like all of this just seems like a very strange and unnecessary way to explain all of this. I feel like there's a much simpler, less weird way to get there. But anyway.
Get your mind out of the gutter, Andre. We're talking about a children's cartoon.
Hey man, this show is full of sex too. Remember when Apocalypse knocked Rogue down and she was in like the most sexiest ass sticking up in the air pose in the history of time? Also, everything
I've never
Gambit
gotten it out of my mind.
Everything Gambit says.
Everything
I submit for the jury. No, Gambit don't go nowhere. Gambit isn't invited.
Gambit don't go nowhere. Don't worry, I parked the car.
So everyone can relax. Gambit this year. Okay, so you jumped ahead of me again.
What? I thought that's where you were.
Storm's still in the atmosphere, trying to kill out the Shadow King, and then he vacates her body. Rogue catches it, and then he goes after Missionary, if I recall correctly.
But Missionary outruns him.
He outruns them, and then Missionary notices the hole in the astral plane and hears them saying they need to try to get him back into the astral plane. Yeah. So he runs towards it and runs straight into it like a boss. I mean, that's sacrifice too. There's a hole into another dimension you don't know anything about, and you're quite willing to run through.
And what's an astral plane? We'll figure that out later.
It actually is kind of interesting looking area. It does kind of look like the Doctor Strange version of the astral plane, where it's all different colors and lights and weird shapes and Ditko-esque stuff going on, which is cool. So, the Shadow King chases them in and possesses them in the astral plane, and then notices that the hole is closing up naturally, as holes do in reality. Apparently, just like a body, they fix themselves eventually. So it's rushing back towards the hole to get back out. Missionary, now free of him once again, outraces him and gets through the hole first. He just gets his arm through. And Storm and Rogue manage to pull him through. Now, Storm and Rogue can't see the hole in reality. They only see his hand when it comes through. Once again, Missionary is the only one that can seem to see it. We have no idea.
Can Storm not see it?
No, she can't.
Okay.
She's looking for it and punching holes in the brick, and then his hand comes out of reality right over there. So, yeah. So,
because as we learned, which I think you maybe glossed over, or maybe they say it later, Storm worked for the Shadow King when she was a child.
Oh, yes. When the Shadow King possessed her, they did reference. And once again, that's a pretty big matzo ball to throw at you with no reference whatsoever.
That is the reference. They're not going to give us Storm's childhood in an episode.
No, but I feel like at no point before they acknowledged anything about her. It sounded like she was possessed by him back in the day, is what it seemed to be. Like, what she just
just manipulating her because she was a child.
So do they elaborate on this
You
when he
will
comes
not
back?
use me for evil, as you did when I was a child.
Which is vague. Like, but
I mean, they do in the comics, and they may in the show. I mean, like I say,
shows
I
her
don't really know much about
pickpocketing
season
from
5.
It shows her pickpocketing.
But he had like a whole group of kids he had like doing thieving and stuff for him in Cairo.
See, that's what I mean. What is this guy? So he's some kind of a thought thing. He's not a real thing.
He inhabits different bodies, and at one point he inhabits the body of Amal Farouk, who I believe is Egyptian, or at least was living in Egypt. So then, like, Shadow King's goals get intertwined with Amal Farouk's goals.
Which are stealing from tourists?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So Missionary gets dragged out of the astral plane, leaving the Shadow King stuck inside, and everybody's happy. Huzzah. Yep. Now, I'm fairly annoyed with this. Let's have a C story in every episode and just sting it at the end of every episode. Like, it's like you don't see anything about it. Last episode, Magneto and Xavier meet up. They get collapse and avalanche. That's it. We get another whole episode. Then we get like 2 minutes at the end of this episode continuing that story, in which Professor X and Magneto recover from the avalanche. I was going to complain about how Professor seems to be standing okay, even with Magneto just holding him, like barely holding him. But as we soon discover, the Professor can walk now.
You seem to know this place. I thought I did.
But nothing about it ever affected mutant power before.
Yes, Magneto calls it the Savage Land because as they come on the other side of the avalanche, they're in a tropical paradise, which the Professor's like sort of amazed by. Magneto is aware of it. Both of the men have lost their powers, being in the presence of this place, and they're attacked by people that are riding on pterodactyls. One of them grabs Magneto, and the Professor, showing an uncanny boomerang ability that he's never had before in his life, picks up a curved stick and manages to throw it with such accuracy at a flying creature that he hits it and manages to make it drop Magneto into the water, to which he dives in to help rescue him. They caught in the river's current, and then they go over a waterfall, and once again, just like last episode, they're in a perilous position, and we get the to be continued again.
We're going to make it.
It's the exact same cliffhanger.
I was going to mention that too. Like, it was an avalanche last episode, and this time it's a waterfall, and it just ends with them going, ah!
Next episode, they fall into a volcano. It's just various things they fall
I hope
into.
they do. I hope they keep this gag going.
That means every episode they just nearly fall to some kind of perilous position.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there we are. Yeah, and then there we are. We come to the end of our episode, and another to be continued with the two men going into one. Like, I like the story of the two former friends turned enemies turned frenemies working together in the Savage Land. But like, let's get a full episode of it instead of these weird little stingers.
Well, the thing is, all these storylines, or at least that storyline, and like the main
because the two guys are
it all meets up.
We can see someone's.
It all comes back to Sinister. All these storylines.
You can see someone watching them on a computer screen. Magneto and Xavier, which is pretty obviously Sinister. So we will continue the story as we go along, but then we have come to the end of our episode.
of us will have to look into his own heart and decide.
All right, you go first so I can yell at you.
Oh man, my heart's saying 5, dude. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
My heart's saying 5, but my head's saying 6, and we're not doing points, so I'm gonna go with a 6.
Okay.
It's still a 6. That's still above half. It's not a fail.
We beg differ.
We sure do. You're gonna give us like a 10, aren't you? Is this an X?
I'm gonna give it a 9.
Oh my god, man! There's too many plot holes and not like just because.
Oh, see, I don't see them as plot holes. I like that we got some backstory of the X-Men before we joined them as a team.
It's not backstory though, because they don't give us any details. All they say is Professor X put him in the astral plane, and that's it. We have no idea.
I think that's all we needed.
We
know that he's been trapped there by the Xavier, so he has a grudge against Xavier at least, and probably the entire X-Men. Okay. And now he's escaping.
But even the fact that
Xavier's not around to deal with it. You know, it also points out how they're somewhat vulnerable when Xavier's not around.
Well, obviously he has a history with Xavier. He has a history with Storm. These are all pretty big things to kind of gloss over. And also, like, just the idea that Xavier can put people in the astral plane is like out of left field that we had no idea about. Like, where did that come from? It's like that's a pretty big thing.
World building, Andre. It's world building.
It's not world building when you throw it out there and don't explain it. It's like
this episode had a ton of Storm. I was all about it. I like the Storm Rogue sort of like buddy cop thing. Like,
but I think because you love Storm, and this is a Storm-centric episode, you've given it 3 points more than it probably deserves.
No, but I'll tell you what. I also love the Shadow King. Oh, and by the way, check this out. It's Storm possessed by the Shadow King.
Oh, that is really cool.
Yeah, so that's another sweet fig.
That is super cool. Is that just connect with the other one, or are they separate figs?
Separate figs.
Oh yeah, because the flames are different on the stove. Oh, and the color's different too. Yeah, that's cool. Nice.
But I love the Shadow King in it. To me, he's the best villain so far, if you don't count Magneto.
I feel like a 30-second or minute flash of their interaction with him before, or even
they could have done that,
but it would have made this infinitely better for me. I just feel like that's a lot of stuff.
Fair.
And then eventually
that's
later,
why I didn't give it a 10.
Even when they say the Shadow King and didn't Xavier put him in the astral plane, and at no point did they even mention like that she had a history with him before. Like it's just indicated that perhaps the Shadow King was an enemy of the X-Men at some point, or Xavier's that they dealt with at some point. And then later on, they're like, "Oh, you're not going to make me cause evil like you did when I was a kid." It's like they knew he knew her before. Like it just seems a lot of just becauses.
Way to tell Julia Roberts what you think of her episode.
No, like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of restraint, and I'm sure if you ask them about it, and I wouldn't want to put their abilities in display because they've proven time and time again they're fantastic writers. I just feel like they probably had stuff they had to say in this episode with a crunch of time to do it, and they did the best they could. I'm not saying it's the fault of the writing per se, but I just feel like I don't know, something it could have been handled better. I think.
Yeah. Well, it was trying to fit a lot into 22 minutes. I will
Well, you got the more.
I could have
stuff.
I actually really liked that Wolverine.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying you have that on top
even
of it,
in this episode.
The Magneto. Yeah,
but I think they probably could have saved the Magneto Xavier thing for the next episode, especially since it creates the same kind of cliffhanger ending as the previous episode. They probably could have just delayed that an episode.
They could have even put the Wolverine morph thing in the next episode too,
especially since the next episode. At least from my knowledge and what the title is, doesn't really have anything to do with the Magneto Professor X thing anyway.
Oh, really?
So they probably could. Well, it's Red Dawn. It's the Omega Red episode, right? So, they could have just probably stuck that on the end of the Omega Red episode instead. But maybe that episode needed more time. I mean, we'll find that out next time. But yeah, that was Andre's obviously wrong, and I apologize, wonderful listener. For his mistake.
The next episode is Red Dawn, by the way. That's the one with the Colossus and all this stuff, Omega Red and all that.
But dear listener, that will not be your homework for this week, as we will get into soon. X points. Uncanny as they often are.
Who's starting this time?
Why don't you?
Why don't I? All right. Well, you may, if keen, eagle-eyed viewers to Morph's bar in the Amazon may notice two of the people that weren't particularly jovial with the jokes Morph was saying and left the bar in disgust were two X-Men characters known as Bloodscream and Roughhouse, who walk out.
Yeah.
This is their only appearance in the show. They're only there to be disgruntled bar patrons, but they appear very briefly in that bar, which is fun.
That was cool. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Expanding
they were quite big in the early Wolverine Volume 2 run.
Yes, I mean, in modern day, not so much, but yeah, interesting characters, like visually interesting characters, and just once again, they can't put every single thing in the entire world in the series, but they try their best to get little nods and little Easter eggs like that for people paying attention, and I really appreciate that sort of stuff. So.
All right. Well, my first X point is okay. So the Bishop thing that the Beast said, which I can just replay here.
My guess, and that's all it is that our friend Bishop's time travel may have had far greater consequences than we imagined.
That's Julia referencing her last episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because write what you know. She probably hadn't kept up with all the other episodes, and it's just like, write what you know. So she knows that episode, so use that as a story point.
Yeah, well, I can see that.
She wrote Days of Future Past Part 1.
All right, back to me.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of dialogue, which I find interesting, and I don't know if it's intentional or not. But with the nature of mutanism and how it's sort of an allegory for racism and homosexuality or anything that makes someone the other in normal society, and I use that term in quotes for those not watching the video version.
I've also been getting the hint recently that X-Men is like an allegory for like othering people on like the international political level, where it's like, that's not my problem, it's people over in this country and that type of thing.
Well, I mean, I think the great thing about it is that you can kind of make it fit in a lot of boxes when it comes to that sort of stuff. But there's a line where they show that Storm breathed life back into this baby, gave it CPR and brought it back to life, and then the mother says, like, shortly after he developed certain abilities, and it's kind of, I don't know if it's intended to seem like perhaps Storm being close to this child helped they can become mutant. That's
I didn't
what I mean.
get that at all.
I know, but the way it's worded, it's almost right after, like the way the sentence is structured. And I'm not saying that's what they intended, but it just kind of came off that way to me, like maybe he caught mutanism from Storm.
Oh my God, mutanism is not contagious.
I know it's not. 100%. I know it's not. But I'm just saying, it just, the way it was worded in this, it kind of seemed that way a little bit. And I know that's probably digging deeper into a characterization that's not even there. But maybe there's some resentment from Shani that her son is not normal because and she.
Let me quote Andre here.
He's not one of the mutants, is he?
No. I'm saying I don't believe that. I'm just saying if you're to the discerning eye, it could read that way.
Okay. Fine. I won't give you too hard of a time over that.
Look, America just passed Florida just passed some weird don't say gay bill where nobody can say the word gay in a school because they're afraid that it'll indoctrinate their kids into being gay. So obviously there's still a lot of fear out there about things that people don't understand or don't want to understand because they'd rather be ignorant and not realize that knowledge is important, especially people that are figuring out who they are when they're growing up. So, I
maybe get on that, our Floridian listeners. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, well, you can blame your terrible fucking congressman or senator there. Is it Gates? Is that his name? Matt Gates? Yeah, he's a reprehensible human being in my mind, but that's just me.
Sounds like it. All right.
No, we don't lose our American listeners in Florida.
Oh, come on. They love us in Florida.
Come on.
No, we just tell it. We just bring it to the truth to the listeners. We don't.
Yeah, I got on my other podcast. I got somebody that said somebody who gave me a not a great review on one of them because I said something political he didn't agree with. He's like, just talk about comics, and I'm like, okay, well. I mean,
you get into the politics before you.
Not a lot. It was more it's just mainly me being me and saying what I disagree with.
Did you just tell people to go get vaccinated? And Buddy was just like, "Hey, who are you to tell me to be vaccinated?"
No, I think it was something about Trump. Probably when Trump was the president. Well. But yeah, it was just sort of like, just talk about comics. And it's like, well, I mean, part of my other show is me being me and talking to people. And this is me. Like, I honestly, if me saying something political bothers you so much, then goodbye. Like, if your skin is that thin, then sorry. Like, I listen to people that I don't necessarily agree with sometimes, politically. I mean, some of them. There's some I definitely don't. But, you know, so you got to be open-minded. Like the X-Men, you have to accept all people. I brought a full circle. We're back.
We're just ourselves on this show too, though. People who know me say I'm more positive on camera, which is true. I just get quiet when I disagree sometimes on camera.
It's all right. I mean, I don't think you and I are going to agree on everything. I
let Andre and Jamil talk about Batman, and I didn't say anything.
Oh, let's talk about Batman. Jamil, get back on here. Me and Jamil's new podcast, Batman the Animated Series review show, will be.
You know what? Go for it. Go for it.
I hope you're happy with Jamil.
Yeah, you and Jamil can have a great honeymoon.
Oh.
Hear that, Jamil? Right. That's fine. That's fine.
This is great. I have this to hold over you for the rest of the show.
Is this maybe I like Jamil better than me too? Whatever.
I'm kidding. Come on.
What is this place? A rainforest in Antarctica?
It's called the Savage Land, a valley hidden in perpetual mist, created eons ago for a purpose long forgotten.
I just got Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's A Lost World vibes from this.
Yeah, for sure. And just to point out, that line, which explained what the Savage Land was, if they had that sentence explain what the Shadow King was earlier, would have been fine. That would have put this up another episode or a point or two for me. So you can do it that easily. One sentence.
Most people over the age of 5 know what an astral plane is, Andre. That's your deficiency.
No, I'm saying the Shadow King specifically. I know what astral plane is. Or what the concept
I've known, but since I was 5.
I've been going there every day in my Tibetan monk friends.
Every time I go to sleep, I visit the astral plane, which may be true. But yeah, so Arthur Conan Doyle vibes of The Lost World, and then I started to think of how like Sinister's there, and he's just doing genetic experiments, and there's dinosaurs around, and I started to get like a Jurassic Park vibe as well. So it's like I'm liking everything about. It's very 90s. This with the Jurassic Park reference. When did Jurassic Park come out? 92 or 94?
93.
Okay, well, they might be hitting the zeitgeist right on the head here.
Could be. It was a big movie.
93. Oh,
big movie.
Still the best CGI ever done. Or not CGI, but effects ever done.
Back to me?
Yep.
Professor X's boomerang throwing skills.
Oh, what?
He just picks up a stick, which looks very much like a boomerang, and hurls it with deadly accuracy, like 100 meters away from himself. Hits a flying Birdman with in such a point that he drops Magneto. It's a stick into the ocean. Like,
if you had insidious mind powers like Charles Xavier, Andre.
Insidious? Did you say the word?
They can be. Would you not read the mind of a boomerang expert to learn that very rare skill?
I feel like that would be pretty fun.
I think you would. I think I would. I think we all would.
I think like guitar. I think like art,
guitar,
literature,
piano, boomerang.
Piano, yeah. I think boomerang would be pretty far down that list for me.
Top 5 anyway.
Oh no, it'd be like top 50 maybe. No, I can't even think I would have probably thought about boomerang enthusiast.
Well,
mountain climber.
Charles Xavier and I are just cut from a different cloth, I guess.
Well, he had a lot of time to figure this out. So, but I mean, it doesn't just take knowing the skill. It takes like the physical prowess to have the coordination and all to be able to do it.
The mind controls the body, Andre.
Is Xavier an Australian last name?
Well, there's the Australian musician Xavier Rudd.
We suddenly learned that like Xavier's like super Australian. Like he's playing like in the next episode. In the next episode, he's playing a didgeridoo. He's just like, oh yeah, Magneto, we'll go deal with Mr. Sinister, but just give me a minute. Whoa.
I worked with an Australian guy once, and I told him I'm pretty sure Xavier Rudd is from Montreal, and it made him so depressed. He's like, "That's literally the only like musician we have. Please don't take that from me."
What? No, Michael Hutchins?
Oh no, I didn't
Makes
agree with
sense.
that statement. He said that, not me.
A lot of fame. Nick Cave, one of my favorite artists, is Australian. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
He's like, in Australia, we're all athletes. Everyone plays a sport because he had moved to Nova Scotia here. It's like everyone here plays an instrument. I'm like, well, yeah, everyone here pretty much does, but
yeah, because
I didn't know that was a weird thing. I thought that was what everybody did.
In Australia, you can play sports all year round. Here, you only play them for like half a year, so you got to do something else for the other half.
And if you suck at winter sports, you just give up on sports.
That's right. And even then, you got to, like, the way the weather's been lately, like ponds don't stay frozen that long. So
no, but unfortunately, they're still frozen.
Is your koi fish still under ice?
I went over and fed them today. No, there was some free water, so I was able to feed them. Yeah. But, we'll talk about all that later in the show. Okay. Mine next one. Morph makes a fair request of Wolverine, I think.
Leave him alone.
And I think Wolverine gets the point by the end of it. He's just like, dude, just leave me alone and let me like settle my brain for a minute. Like, it's nothing crazy. It's not like, oh no, we have to go after Morph. He's like, no, he just like wants to chill for a minute. So
let him be.
I was like, yeah, just let him be. So
yeah.
I'm glad he finally got that point across because he wasn't asking anything outrageous.
Let Morph be. Let him be.
Let him be.
Let Morph
let
be.
It be. Let Morph be. Let Morph be. Let Morph be.
Let him figure it out in his own. Let Morph be.
Let Morph be. Burr, burr, burr.
Very nice.
There you go. That was the first duet between me and Andre on this show.
Well, they'll be the first of many. My fourth point is the design for the Shadow King. Like, I don't know if this is what he looked like ever in the comics. I don't think he did.
Oh yeah.
Did he look this way in the comic? The metal
in the astral plane.
Okay, so because like I watched a bit of Legion. I think I saw the first couple episodes, and then
that's not what he looks like in the comic. In Legion, that Shadow King was something new.
But the way he's drawn, like if you look up the Shadow King, there are pictures of like a fat guy with like a fez with like a shadow duke.
Yeah, that's Amal Farouk.
Yes, yeah. So like that version is something that I'm more familiar with than seeing because there was a hero click of that and some other things from back in the day. So the fact, like seeing that version of the character as this giant sort of armored, almost medieval looking demon kind of character was interesting. I think he looks neat. I like the voice work as well. But design wise, I think for the first appearance of the Shadow King and not knowing he has a history with the X-Men, but not knowing anything. Yeah, that's it. Not knowing. Isn't there like a Shadow King coming out of his back though?
That's not that hero click.
Oh,
that one's old. I got rid of that one.
Yeah, I had that one.
That's a good one. I had it too.
So yeah, like obviously I'd like to know. I think he's a cool looking character with an interesting power set, I guess. It just too vague. Like I wanted to know more about him, but I think the design was really cool. So
no,
I mean, if anything, that's a good point to the writing because they made a provocative character that I want to know more about, and I'm angry I didn't get any information at all.
My next point was the same, Shadow King. I loved the Shadow King in this episode. I didn't have any problems with the mystery. In fact, I think that kind of added to it. And I liked that he reminded me a little bit of Apocalypse, the way Apocalypse speaks very grandiose and stuff, but he was like more of a toned down version of that. Where it wasn't so
not me, come closer.
Yeah, it wasn't so like epic, grandiose villain. It was just, but he had that voice. But the things he said were just a little more like sly and stuff.
I feel like we're getting quite a collection of villains that have robotic-y voices that are deep. We got Sinister.
But he wasn't robotic-y. I think.
No, it's kind of like
that's what made him cool.
I mean, Apocalypse was
very
robotic-y.
evil.
Yeah, but Sinister and him both have that sort of like deep. Kind of like there's some kind of voice effect on their voice.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'm sure Omega Red will have one too.
But yeah, that's it for mine. I just really like the Shadow King. I want to see more of him. I think he's probably the most effective villain we've seen so far as being like a scary threat. Because they didn't really nullify him. They just kind of trapped him in the astral plane, but he'll be back. He got out before. He'll get out again.
Well, That the plot, like, if you could, there's one place you could be trapped. There's one door to it, and there's this guy that runs really fast, running towards.
Okay, yeah, I didn't like that.
You think at
you
some
don't
point you'd be
follow
like,
him
well,
in there. Okay.
Perhaps I shouldn't follow him directly back into the prison I just escaped from that I've been in for quite a long time. So, that's kind of dumb, but whatever. I mean, they got to figure out a way to put the genie back in the bottle, and that's what they did. So it's fine.
That's why I gave it a 9, not a 10.
That's a high number, dude. 9 is so high.
Because it was a great episode.
Like, if you say Citizen Kane is a 10 of a movie, that's
I wouldn't. I think it's overrated.
Okay, well, fine. What do you think?
When's the last time you watched Citizen Kane?
I've never seen Citizen Kane. I'm just using that.
Exactly. Because
I am planning on watching.
Nobody actually goes to watch it because when they do, it's boring.
I'm sure I'll like it. It's one of those movies that I've been waiting for the right opportunity, and perhaps I should just watch it because
I think you'll like the classic scenes that you've already heard before from that movie.
Yeah, I got quite a few blind spots in my film as a film guy. That I only watched Jaws for the first time like 5 years ago. So,
oh my god, that's
I know. I've never seen The Godfather. I only watched Top Gun a few years ago too.
You've never seen The Godfather?
Nope.
Oh
I'm gonna watch them. I got all of them. I just haven't watched them yet.
You don't understand. The best movie going experience I've ever had was me and a buddy of mine, my buddy Francis. We snuck a quart of whiskey into a showing of The Godfather on the Park Lane Theater in Halifax. And my God, it was like the best 3 hours.
I love drinking and watching movies. That's like my favorite thing to do. So, yeah. So I mean, and I'm going to. I have the set. I want to pick a weekend where I got nothing going on and just watch them all.
The Godfather is so. It's the best movie, maybe the best movie ever. And like, it's not like up my alley or anything, but like when you watch it, you're just like, wow.
Part of my problem is that I wait for the right opportunity, the right chance, and it never really comes. You just got to pick a time and do it. So, okay, let's say The Godfather is the best film of all time. So if you say that's a 10, like as far as movies go, perfect, then like 9 is like next. If 10 is God, 9 is Jesus. Like, it's pretty goddamn close. So
yeah,
if 9 is pretty close to perfection. I mean, you're putting this on the same level as Days of Future Past, as the first episodes.
No, I gave those 10s.
Yeah, but I mean, they're pretty goddamn close. 9's close. All right, well, I think your love of Storm is blinding.
No, I think this episode was one of the more complete stories we've seen. Like, as far as the A story goes, it's kind of one of the most complete stories we've seen.
I can go that. I mean, we didn't really get all the X-Men. We lost.
It had a whole Storm goes back to her village. We meet her family. They vanquish an enemy that had control over her as a kid. They did quite a bit with it. I thought. I liked it.
I can see where you're going with that. I just feel like it's. I don't know.
Like the A plot of the Juggernaut. Juggernaut robs the bank. Like, that's the A plot. You know what I mean?
The X-Men should have known.
Yeah, like some of them have pretty thin A plots, but they're still really enjoyable.
Yeah, that's fair.
But this one had a lot of meat to it.
Final point for me is I like seeing young Storm when she was like playing with the baby and helping it come to life. It showed her with short hair, and you see her eyes are usually white a lot in the series, like, because when she's always using her powers. So it's cool seeing her with her natural eye color and her short, hair in her natural sort of African garb. I thought that was interesting and cool. I liked it, and I thought it was cool seeing versions of them younger when they look different, like as far as their styles go and stuff. So I liked like pre-Storm as a superhero Aurora Monroe character.
Well, my last point is character backstories. They're sprinkling them in slowly to this series. We haven't really gotten many backstories. And 2 episodes from now, we're going to get some Wolverine backstory. And in the first episode, we get a little bit of Rogue backstory, but we haven't gotten Beast backstory. We haven't gotten Cyclops backstory, Jean, Gambit's backstory, which is coming soon as well. But they're just sprinkling them in slow, and Storm's sort of like the first one we've seen, other than like a little bit of Rogue. But they're going to get into Rogue's backstory a lot deeper later as well. So this is kind of almost the first deep dive into a character backstory we've got.
Yeah, no, it was, ish. I mean, we got a little bit here and there, but yeah, you're right. It is. But I would like to see more. Actually fleshing it out than just having a line of dialogue in a half shown memory.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I guess that's the end of Uncanny X Points. So, well,
Hey, check this out.
hey, check this out. Comic reminiscences and recommendations. Andre was hyping his up, so why don't you go first, Andre?
What? All right. Well,
Yeah, you were like, you can't wait to see my recommendation.
No, I just said I think you may be impressed with it because it's different. Not different.
Impress me. Impress me, sir.
Oh, now the bar's too high. I can't do it. I mean, you've obviously built it up too
I'll
far,
go
and
first.
I can't deliver it. No, just leave. All right,
I'll go first. Uncanny X-Men 265. This is see this Storm here? That is Storm as a little girl. And,
still wearing white. She's a slave to fashion.
Well, this is Storm as an adult, having been turned back into a little girl.
Oh, what's even more convoluted and stupid.
And she's being chased by the Shadow King, and she's also spying on him. And also being chased by Nanny and the Orphan Maker, which are two characters.
Oh, that's a character. The Orphan Maker's one I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Nanny and the Orphan Maker, but especially Nanny. Oh, the way they wrote them in the new Marauders comics are so good. Nanny is terrifying, likable in another way, and Nanny and the Orphan Maker are awesome now. Let me put it that way. These new X-Men comics have been fleshing out a lot of discarded characters or
that's cool. I like
underappreciated.
I appreciate when there are characters. As someone who's a fan of,
like they did with Grey Crow,
Yeah.
And a lot of characters.
Formerly, what was his name before?
Formerly Scalp Hunter, yeah.
Scalp Hunter, yeah. So, that's a drastic improvement for that character. Very cool. So why that one particularly?
This issue?
Yep.
Well, because I'm just like, there's Storm and she's going back to help her child. I'm like, well, how about Storm as a child? But it also is a Storm versus the Shadow King comic, so I thought it was pretty apropos to the episode.
Very nice.
And I realized I get to shout out Nanny and the Orphan Maker too, which made me happy. So that's why I chose Uncanny X-Men 265 by, of course, Chris Claremont. And everybody should probably read that entire run anyway. It'll take you a million years.
Well, I would like to pick up the. I don't know if they did the omnibus versions of those, but definitely would like to pick those up.
God, you could make a coffee table out of it.
My selection is by one of my favorite comic writers and artists, actually. And it may have been a better recommendation after the Morlock episode of season 1 because it does deal with Storm being the leader of the Morlocks in it. But it is Warren Ellis and Terry Dodson's Storm miniseries from was it the early 2000s, I believe.
Yes,
in which
I
Storm.
don't believe I have that one.
Well, you know what? I bought it at the dollar store.
Wow! I'm gonna go check out the dollar store.
$4.
The dollar stores around here have sweet graphic novels.
Yeah, they did. I mean, I think I've tapped out the ones here because I've gone back a few times and they have not restocked in a very long time. So I think they may have run out of whatever store they bought up. But so Terry Dodson, who's done a lot of great work, Strangers in Paradise, I believe, is one of his seminal stories. Warren Ellis, who, of course, is a huge comic book influence on me lately. He's come under a little bit of fire for some.
Has he?
Mostly for, I guess there was some convention where he had sex with a bunch of different fangirls over the weekend that didn't know about each other, and there's been some accusations of grooming young people on his message board.
Jeez, that's cool.
Yeah, but the group, there's a group of women that got together that have all sort of, know him or felt like they were maybe targeted by him. But it's not like he has done a lot, I guess, to not make up for it, because that's bad wording, but they put a group of women together to talk with him and try to make him understand his behavior, because he didn't really see it as being predatory. And
they often don't.
Yeah, but I mean,
but
honestly,
it still is.
He's an older guy that talked to all these young women that liked him because of his station in comics, and he's been open and vocal in talking with this group and trying to make amends in his own way. So at least he's making efforts. Yeah, he's making efforts. He was never
At a certain point, you have to maybe clue into there's all the stories gap that goes along with an age gap, and
that is true. But all the stories don't seem very much like he told me sleep with me, or he won't do, or he won't help me, or whatever. They just more seem like the second I said I wouldn't sleep with him, he stopped talking to me. Like that sort of thing. So, I mean, I'm not apologizing for him because he has lots of, he has stuff to answer for, which he seems to be doing, because I know a lot of comic public, but lately it seems like since he's had an open dialogue with some of the people that felt like they were wronged by him, and that he's making efforts to do better and be better and learn and kind of vocalize it, that he's being welcomed, it seems, back into doing comics again, which is great. But, I mean, I'm a huge fan of his work. Transmetropolitan is a fantastic series. God, he's done so much. It's hard to even describe it all. He did a Wolverine story called Not Dead Yet, which is pretty fun. He did this. He did Avengers work. He did lots of counterculture sort of comics that were out of the box. Planetary is an amazing series. If you haven't read it, check it out. But so much even more beyond that. Black Summer. I could go on and on and on. But yeah, this was his take on early when he was getting his feet wet in the mainstream comics industry. I can't figure out where my camera is. He did this X-Men Storm series, which was a 4-part series.
Well, I love the Dodsons.
Yeah, Terry Dodson's a great writer, or artist rather.
Yeah, and Rachel usually does his colors.
The art's beautiful, and it deals with the Morlocks.
Or
it deals
inking.
with
Is Rachel inking or his colors?
The Morlocks and
They
Mikhail
often work together.
I don't think Ellis did it, but there's a great miniseries as well. I think the Dodsons. Tim Sale did with Gambit Wolverine team up.
The Dodsons did a good Spider-Man.
They sure did. The Mark Miller series that they did for Marvel Knights was really good. That's the series where they made Matt Gargan Venom for like a minute. Yeah. But anyway, great series. If you love Warren Ellis, which is his sort of take on superheroes in sort of a snarky English way, and Storm takes center point as well. So it's a great Storm-centric story, which just made me think of. But it also deals a lot with the Morlocks and her role as their leader. So that may be a good thing to go with when it came to the Morlock episode from season 1 or future Morlock episodes as we come across them. Cable also has a big part in it, it appears.
Oh, well, very nice. I'm running to my dollar store tomorrow.
I doubt it's.
I do find the one in Dartmouth by the bridge has a lot of graphic novels. Oh yeah, that's a great image.
Really, I'll have to go to that because I haven't checked out the Dartmouth. I figured the comic fans in Halifax have figured that out already and already mined them, but maybe not.
No, Haligonians.
I certainly mine Truro for all its best stuff. In its $2 stores, but
Dartmouth is like the mecca of dollar stores. They're all over the place, so
yeah,
it's a good place to check out for sure. What's wrong with Andre? Everybody's favorite thing. He's letting it out. He's letting it out.
Yeah,
but he's going to tell us all about it.
I really feel like there's a box I've been forced to fit into, in which I'm some kind of.
No, so we got a backup segment. I force no one into any box.
Okay, let's do it the good one then.
My hero Ben Sisko was forced into a box on an episode of Star Trek DS9. So
my hero is.
I assure you, I will force no one into a box.
Let's go with the good one then, because I'm feeling all right now. I feel a
all
little.
Right. What's working with Andre?
Busy. I mean, I'm busy with work. A lot of stuff happening right now. It's keeping me quite busy. I have some customers that need some things designed last minute. A ton of stuff that I got to do after I'm done this. So I hope you appreciate me giving my very valuable time to this podcast that I enjoy so thoroughly. And I'm actually feeling, even with a bit of discourse of not liking this episode, I have to say I'm really, really like doing this show, and I'm really appreciative of you of roping me into it because it's been really good and fun.
It was a thin rope.
It is a thin rope. However, we haven't discussed this beforehand. Yeah, I guess I was pretty quick to jump on and say sure. It's like, hey, man, really twist my arm and convince me.
I haven't talked to you in 8 years. You want to?
Let's do it. No, but I appreciate it because you were a fan of my other podcast, so you actually were listening and enjoyed it enough to want to bring me on to do this with you. So I appreciate.
It's true. I was looking for a skilled podcaster, and that's why
I wouldn't go that far to say I'm that. But
no, because you have things that I don't have, which is why we make a decent duo here. I think.
I think so.
You're a bit of a yang to my yin.
I like it. I think you got your peanut butter and my chocolate, and vice versa. And I think that's where we're at.
And I am still.
Sounds vaguely sexual, but I'm still going to stick with that.
Because I'm sticky.
Sure.
And if you drop me, I always land peanut butter side down.
Okay. Well, remind me next time I see you in person to drop you.
I'm sure you can.
I just like gorilla press you.
Do a gorilla. I was about to say gorilla press me. Yeah.
Well, okay. I guess talking about what's going on in my life, Scott Hall passed away yesterday.
Yeah.
Who's
let's go back to what's wrong.
Well, I
with
wouldn't
Andre.
say what's wrong. I mean, I didn't
you were a
know him.
fan, I
I've never met him in my travels, but he was certainly a titan of the professional wrestling industry, and as a professional wrestler, you couldn't help but notice him. And I'm sure there are moves that I've done in the past that have taken from him. I do a variation of a few things he does.
The Razor's Edge.
No, that's a very dangerous move. I don't do it.
Anyone dropping anyone on their head,
it's not good. But he was certainly, as far as characters go from early wrestling days, he was one of the best. And
Chico,
just throw in the toothpick. But even between,
oh man, I used to carry a toothpick because of him.
Hey yo,
for sure.
Hey
yo, Chico.
But yeah, even beyond Razor Ramon, like when he went to WCW and they did the NWO, I mean that's certainly something that's had a long-standing and obvious impact on professional wrestling. So his contributions to the industry cannot be ignored, no matter how hard you try. And he's a very interesting guy, and from what I understand, from a lot
overcame some demons, or we assume overcame,
which probably contributed to his death, unfortunately. Certainly. A lot of people, I have contemporaries that do know him or have known him in the past, and everyone speaks highly of him, and everyone that's speaking about him after his death says he was one of the best. So it's a shame to lose a guy like that, certainly with his experience and his knowledge, but hopefully his family is doing okay as they can be, and they're moving on. But sad day for pro wrestling. Also, we lost William Hurt this past week, who is one of my favorite actors. Most people know him as Thunderbolt Ross in the Marvel movies, the Incredible Hulk movie with Edward Norton, and then carrying on to Civil War and Black Widow. But he was so much more than that. I mean, he's in such amazing movies as The Big Chill, Altered States, so many.
Village.
The Village, one of my favorite movies, in fact, that most people haven't seen. I suggest you go check out, especially see his ability as an actor, is Mr. Brooks. It's a movie with Kevin Costner in which he plays a guy in his 50s, I guess, who's a successful businessman who is actually also a serial killer and has been one for decades, but he's just so careful and meticulous that he has managed to evade the law for his entire life. And events come into play which make that a little harder for him to do. He's a family man. He owns businesses. No one has any idea that he could even be connected to anything like this. But he has a sort of, if you like Dexter, a sort of dark passenger that sort of pushes him on, compels him to do these acts. And that dark passenger in his mind is played by William Hurt, and he does an amazing job. He's a really good character, and it's a really good movie. So,
I love the first season of Dexter. Killed Dokes, you lose an audience member. Let me tell you.
Well, in the books, it's way worse for Dokes. He Dokes died of season 2, by the way.
Was it?
He died at the end of season 2.
It was good up to that then.
When Lila killed him. But in the series, he gets messed up by by Dexter's brother's character. And he's still alive, but he's like missing organs and an eye, and he's in a wheelchair and he can't talk. Like he gets really messed up. So
is it too? Go ahead.
No, that's it.
Is it too soon to throw a little balancing shade on this William Hurt thing?
Not at all. Go ahead.
My partner worked with him on a movie, and apparently he terrorizes everybody on set. So
really,
apparently he's a bit of a terrorist. Yeah.
Really? What movie?
Yeah.
May I ask?
I'm not sure. I'd have to ask her.
Oh, is she your partner an actress?
Or I think she wanted to do some behind the scenes,
Yeah. Well, to add on to what's going good with Andre, I had a bunch of auditions this past weekend for some TV work, so hopefully one of those will pan out.
No, we're complicated beings, we humans. Just ask William Hurt or Ellis.
Well, you can't ask him; he's dead.
You're right. You can't.
You can ask him. You're not going to get an answer.
You know what? It's again being too soon. You made your post about William Hurt there a couple days ago, and you're like, "This one hurts." I'm like, "Was that a pun?" I'm not even going to mention it. It felt like pun. I'm not going to bring it up.
It wasn't intentional, but yeah.
I didn't think so, but I just let it be. I let
somebody else I know posted like that hurts or something like that, and I was like, oh, and then I realized that I kind of did it in my post.
So everyone was punning. Well, I guess that brings us to what's.
This is no time for angry words.
This is no time for angry words. This is what's working with Davan. And what's working with me is I feel like I talk about the weather a lot on this show. But anyway, spring is getting closer. I actually did gardening today, which is very important to me. I went to my old place. I got a load of plants. I brought them to my new place. We dug some of the pond. I got my greenhouse set up. It's all coming together. Like, I don't really care about the inside of my house. I'm more like the outside guy. So I've just been waiting for everything to unthaw. Dethaw. Is it dethaw or unthaw? It's dethaw, isn't it?
I think you just say thaw because thaw means it's.
Oh. Yeah, really?
Yeah,
you don't need to add extra stuff onto that.
Thawing means it's defreezing, so you don't need to add a D to it.
I see. That's why we're such a good team.
Well,
The Thaw is a great Star Trek Voyager episode, actually. But I just talk about Star Trek as often as I can.
You sure do.
But yeah, just that. I was we were, the whole family, me and the partner and the baby. We were all out in the garden today. It was.
Oh, well, it was a good day for it.
Yeah, it was.
Plus 8 or 9 today, wasn't it?
The baby likes mud unless it's on her hand, and then very upset. I think it's because we put paint on her hand the other day to make something for her grandmother. So now it's like if there's something on her hand, she's just like, "No, I did not agree to this." Like, well, you jumped in the mud.
Like that.
You sort of did.
Hands. I can understand.
No, I understand. Clean baby. But yeah, that's what's working. Winter's over here in the Great White North. Finally. That's right.
Now
and it's my birthday next week.
What day is your birthday?
The first day of spring. That's why I love it so much. March 20th.
Well, very nice. When's our show?
When is our show?
Yours on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, I have to speak with you about that. We can figure that out later. But
what's that?
I have a my little brother through Big Brothers Big Sisters is in a play with the theater group I'm in. We have a youth theater group as well. And that I'm going to, the only night I can go see it is that night. So I'm not sure.
Our show night?
Yes, but we may just have to push this back a little later. That works for me.
When do you want to do the show? Monday, Wednesday, something like that?
Well, actually, Monday would probably work. We can just do Monday.
All right, let's do Monday.
All right. You hear that? You got the first news first.
There you have it.
Prime news first. Then we're going to do this on Monday. I mean, or we can do it later on Sunday if you want, or Tuesday, but I mean, probably like 9 would work, but I'll figure that out.
Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. We'll let you lovely listeners know as well.
Right.
Glad y'all decided to join the party.
But we're skipping this segment because there's no new news. Great expectations, Andre. You wanted to talk about the X-Men world?
Talk about some
Get into it. Get into
the X-Men world. The X-Men world in general. I mean, there's Patrick Stewart has admitted that he is in fact in Doctor Strange.
We didn't need his admission. We didn't.
Well, we already knew based on the trailer.
It was obvious.
It sounds very much like his. But I mean, that opens up some interesting stuff for the X-Men being a part of the. I really don't want to see them just be something in another universe. I really want to see the X-Men come in proper and be a part of that. If this maybe leans towards that, like maybe he says something that's like, you know, mutants are out there, but they're scared. They don't want to let themselves be known that they're out there. I would be super cool with that and seeing that happen in the product. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff online about Daniel Radcliffe playing Wolverine. I really don't want to see that happen. I love Daniel Radcliffe, but I don't.
He shot that down hard.
Good. I would love to. Like, I think he's a great actor. I just don't. I don't know. I want.
He has the height, and he did do a movie where he went savage in the jungle, which. But he's not the best choice. I think he could do it, but he's not the best choice. Wolverine has to be somebody we've never seen before. I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
That's
so.
why
think
everyone's like Tom Hardy. I'm like, one, he's too tall, and he's Tom Hardy. Go away.
he's not that tall, but I think
he's like
Taron
6 feet tall.
Somebody once said they thought Taron Egerton would do a good job. The guy that played Elton John in
Eggsy.
Eggsy in the. I think he'd be all right actually.
I hear he's not very tall.
No, he's not.
Yeah,
So
I could see him if he can, gruff up and buff up.
Oh, well, he's pretty shredded in something I saw not too long ago. They had to. I think they went to extreme lengths to make him look at his shape for Elton John, but it didn't really work because he still looked in pretty good shape.
I hold out hope that Marvel Studios will hire a short Wolverine. I worry that because of Hugh Jackman and because of even like recent comics and stuff, that
I feel like
they try to push this sex symbol idea of Wolverine too often, which is like, that's not who he is. He's actually the weird, kind of ugly guy, weird little hairy guy.
I feel like
people like just because of who he is and his strength of
I
personality.
feel like they lean into a Jason Momoa type. I mean, they probably won't use him because he's Aquaman, but I feel like that's the way they would probably.
He's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying him specifically.
No,
but,
I know.
They would lean into that sort of type.
I mean, he can do the gruff part.
Anyway, but as far as expectations go, there's a rumor that the villain in Black Panther is in fact Namor the Submariner, and that would make me
for sure.
Very, very happy because he is one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Oh yeah, I'd be shocked if it was.
And one of the first mutants.
The one thing he's the first mutant. Well, no, the first mutant presented in the comics. But Selene's the oldest mutant, followed by Apocalypse, and then Exodus. But
expectations. So are we doing the actor thing?
We can if you like.
Is it whatever? I mean, do you want to talk about some storyline you want to see?
No, I just great. Well, you said you talk about Namor. I can talk about Namor for a minute. My problem with that, not a problem. Is
he not in the episode where they show the invaders? Wasn't he in that episode in the X-Men series coming up, like season 3 or 4 or something?
Really?
And Wolverine isn't
with the Captain America one. That's like season 5.
Maybe that's in Spider-Man. There's the season where they fight the Red Skull and they talk about the invaders, and there's something to do with Captain America. I feel like maybe Namor's in that, but I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while.
He's in the Fantastic Four series from that era.
Yeah, he would be, but I feel like maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking something else, but probably just the original Jim Hammond, Human Torch, and that sort of stuff.
I'm almost positive they will put Namor into that second Black Panther movie, and he'll almost certainly be the one to kill T'Challa.
I think they're going to kill him with like cancer or something. I think they're just going to say he got sick and he died. I don't think they're going to do any big fight where he's dead.
Oh, I think they will.
I don't think
they're going to do a CG fight with him in the costume, and Namor will kill him with like a big tidal wave or something.
I don't want to see Namor be like a real villain, though. I want to see him be like a misunderstood guy.
But if in a Black Panther movie, Namor should be a straight villain. Because see, that's that's the sad part. Like, if you're up on Jonathan Hickman's New Avengers and all his Avengers stuff, there's almost no greater rivalry in comics than the one between Namor and T'Challa. They hate each other so much, but they have to work with each other sometimes.
Namor and Doctor Doom and Namor and Mr. Fantastic.
No.
If you look at the line of history, it's way longer than whatever
the universe was ending. T'Challa took that opportunity to stab Namor in the heart and leave him on an exploding planet. Like the world was going to end anyway. He's just like, no, but I'm actually going to stab you in the heart.
I just don't want to see him
that time you drowned Wakanda when you were possessed by the Phoenix, which wasn't really Namor's fault. T'Challa's holding kind of a harsh grudge there. I'll give you that. But he has to stick up for his people.
Fine.
Right. Oh man, I love that rivalry. Those two, because they're both smart, they're both powerful, they're both leaders of nations. Like, I love that rivalry, and it makes me sad that they're going to bring Namor into Black Panther movie and T'Challa won't be there. Really, that makes me sad.
I honestly think Marvel should have recast him as much as I like Chadwick.
I think they should too.
I don't want to see the character.
He thinks so. Chadwick Boseman said recast the character.
Yeah, honestly, the guy I think would be a really good. My pick for him would be Oh, I never pronounced his name right. The guy that was in the new Candyman movie. He plays Black Manta in the Aquaman movie.
Okay, he played
He's really good at
Candyman.
Yeah, in the new Candyman movie.
Okay, yeah,
Not Tony Todd, but the guy that's like the central figure in the new Candyman movie. He's got a different name. I can't remember, but yeah, he's Black Manta in the Aquaman movies.
God, I can't believe you haven't seen Godfather, Andre. I don't even know who I'm talking to. But anyway.
Oh, he's also that actor's in the HBO Watchmen series, which I highly suggest if anybody hasn't watched it. It's very good.
Okay, who's he playing that?
If I tell you, it's too big of a spoiler. Just watch it.
Okay, yeah, right. I'm not gonna watch it. I didn't much care for the movie.
What? Okay, watch it. Okay,
I've read the comics. I've read the Watchmen comic.
Do you like the comic?
It's okay. It's overrated. It's way overrated. People say it's the greatest comic ever written, and it definitely is not. It definitely is not.
What do you think is the greatest comic ever written?
I can think of Spider-Man comics that are better than the Watchmen.
Oh no.
Absolutely. I would rather read Brand New Day and the one that comes after that. Where he like has that emotional.
All right, we're gonna differ on this one too. Listen,
I can think of a lot of X-Men comics.
There are two comics that are always vying for the best comic graphic novel of all time. It's Watchmen and Mouse, and both are fantastic. And I have a hard time figuring out which one's better than the other. But Watchmen is indescribably as a singular piece of fiction. Don't do the before Watchmen. Don't do the ignore the movie. As a singular piece of self-contained fiction, it is fantastic.
It gets so overhyped as it threw the superhero genre on its head, and totally like they thought, you could never make superhero comics after this comic. It's just like the comics had done already like 50 times before that. It was like there was nothing new.
No, but you can't judge it on that.
It was
new at the time.
I just think everything that gets said about it is overstated. So it bothers me.
It's also like saying The Exorcist is the scariest movie of all time because everything that made it scary has been done 1,000 times since it came out.
Yeah.
So yes, as the first, if you saw that movie for the first time without all the other things that came out that mirrored it, then yes, I think you would agree. However, Watchmen, even by today's standards, I still think, as far as writing,
it's good. It's a very good comic.
No, it's fantastic. But anyway, watch the HBO.
I just don't think it's the best.
Well, I'll disagree with you on that. But
do you think it's the best?
It's up there. If there's a Mount Rushmore, it'd be on it.
If you had to reread a comic for the rest of your life, and it was the only comic you had, would it be The Watchmen?
Probably, yeah.
Really? Okay.
It's fantastic. But I mean, I think it's been cool, like the Punisher or other characters, Rorschach, and some of those characters have been like coolified and made into something that they weren't intended to be. Like Alan Moore said that Alan Moore always said he thought that like the fact that people really took to Rorschach was disturbing because he's a racist and a lunatic and shouldn't be held up in any kind of a standard. Like
somebody came out recently and said something like that about the Punisher. That's like, do you not realize that the Punisher is not? He's an indictment of the ineffectual justice system.
Yeah, well, Batman.
He's not about you should go out and kill bad guys. He's just like, no, it's about the justice system is so bad that the Punisher exists. But it's about addressing those problems.
And I find it problematic that like police officers are putting him on like decals on their cars.
It is problematic because why they changed his logo here recently.
Yeah, and I'm not really a big fan of the new logo.
Well, it's gonna go back.
Yeah, of course. But I know it's just topical right now. But aside from all that stuff, I mean, I think The Watchmen, as far as the character study, I mean, if you're looking at it as a superhero book, no, but it's
a good book.
It just goes into such deep personal territory for a lot of people that I think it speaks to a lot of people on a lot of different levels. I love it. But anyway, I really think you should watch the HBO show because it is a direct.
Is it better than the movie?
Yes. I actually I'm not.
The movie definitely glorified Rorschach.
Oh, 100%. And also,
he was the hero of that movie.
It made everybody who's just a normal human in it a superhuman because they're like punching chunks of concrete into walls and not being hurt. And it's like they're all just regular people. But no, the series itself is it goes super deep into America's troubling racist history. And it's a direct sequel to the comic, not the movie.
Oh,
so wow. like the giant squid in New York is part of the story. So they changed that in the movie. So it picks up now with
And it's none of the same characters, right? It's like all new
some of them
characters.
appear in it, but they're way
Okay.
further down the line because it's like now after if the Watchmen happened in the 80s, it picks up now where those characters would be. So, for instance, Silk Spectre as an older lady is in it. Ozymandias is in it.
Why the Last Man is better than the Watchmen?
I haven't yet to read it, so
Okay. Well,
I have
you
the
can borrow
deluxe
mine if you
editions.
like.
No, I have the
Okay.
deluxe editions of the whole series. I
Alright.
just haven't sat down and read them all yet. When quarantine
enough.
first started, I sat and read all of Fables. So I feel like I got to
Okay.
find a time to do all of what that one's. Brian K. Vaughan's I'm a big fan of his work, so it's coming.
I like his humor, and
Anyway,
he's
sorry,
at
are
his
we-
best in Why the Last Man. If you like Brian K. Vaughan, Why the Last Man is his best.
Okay.
Better than Saga.
Are we doing X-Men stories or actors? Because we've been talking in this segment
Oh
about
my
stuff
god,
unrelated.
we haven't even been talking about X-Men at all, have we? This has been great
No.
expectations. Okay, we got to say something about the X-Men.
Pick some. All right, I'll give you the Rock. Pick a character from the Rock. Who would he do in an X-Men?
Oh, we're gonna play that game. All right, expert. I was gonna skip it because we're already at 2 hours, but this is our longest episode ever, so let's keep going with it.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the night I have a bunch of work to do after too. That I was hoping this wouldn't be a long episode. So
Well,
this is how
you
it goes.
wanted to play expert casting.
It's my fault because I talk. So
now I'm putting the Rock into something. Okay, the Rock. Okay. Oh, it's easy for me. The Rock would be Gladiator.
okay, I can see that. Yeah, that works.
Yeah. Unquestionable. I think that's why
You
we
tried to put
him
Michael
as.
Dorn as the Gladiator last week.
You didn't give me a Michael Dorn. You didn't let me put Michael Dorn in anything.
I know that was 2 weeks ago when
You
your
never
cousin
let
was on
me
the show.
pick Michael Dorn.
No,
Michael
when your
Dorn is
cousin-
Worf.
When Dave was
You
on
never
the
gave
show,
me that option.
when
What?
Dave was on the show, he said Michael Dorn.
No, he said somebody else. It wasn't Michael Dorn.
No,
and
he said
wanted him to
Worf.
play
He
that
said Worf.
Rasta.
And I said it would be Strong Guy. Do you ever remember this? It was 2 weeks ago.
No, I don't remember anything. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that episode, as should you listeners, if you haven't listened to it yet.
Yes, that's
Actually,
true.
that one we had some technical difficulties with.
All right,
The first two episodes of season 2, I apologize.
Gladiator's a good choice.
Yeah, Gladiator, The Rock.
That's mine.
So okay, well, we haven't had any females yet.
I've been batting 100 on this, so I gotta make sure it's a good
Okay,
one.
well, I'm gonna give you a hard one here, and you're probably gonna hate it.
Fuck.
Sandra Bullock.
What? Okay. No, that's not hard. Sandra Bullock.
Okay.
Sandra Bullock on the X-Men cartoon. Who should she voice?
Yeah.
Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, the Carol Danvers Marvel that Rogue steals.
What,
her
you're
powers.
just gonna bring her in to have Rogue take her powers? That's been done. You can't use that.
No, but if she shows up and they have a dialogue or some kind of
She's coming back for revenge
kind of
or
a
something.
retribution, or perhaps some kind of
Okay.
catharsis where they fight first
Okay.
and then realize that she's a victim of circumstance. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, she'd be a good Captain Marvel, actually.
Yeah, she
I'm
would
down
be.
with that. Yeah,
She
I'm
totally
down with
would.
that. Okay. Well, you know what, Andre, what you got going on?
Graphic Histories Podcast, new episode just dropped this past Saturday, in which I speak with Ron Sutton, who is a Canadian trailblazer when it comes to comics. He worked on Elvira Comics for 9 years. He worked on some projects for he worked
Mistress
on
of the
Agent.
Dark.
Yes, he worked on Fear Agent as well. He has some great stories about organizing one of the first cons in Toronto. He talks about paying Ted Nugent at that con while Ted Nugent was naked, which is hilarious.
I saw Ted Nugent once, and I regret it to this day.
Was he naked?
He was trying to be.
But Ron talks about some great stories about becoming friends with such comic book titans as Bernie Wrightson, who, if you know horror comics, is one of the best.
One of the best. Bernie
I'm a
Wrightson
massive fan of his
details
work.
amazing. The detail.
Ron became friends with quite a few people in the comic industry that and kept those friendships going for a long time. He spent a lot of time doing comics. He spent a lot of time as a courtroom sketch artist, which is interesting. Have you heard the episode, Davan?
I'm halfway through it.
When he talks about his work as a courtroom sketch artist, there's some really interesting and weird stuff in there.
That
But
is an
it's a super
interesting
great
job
comic.
for a comic guy. That's pretty funny.
Very
Bernie
interesting.
Wrightson also did this comic. Spider-Man
yes, he did.
Hooky.
He sure
The old
did.
classic, the original Marvel graphic novels.
Wow, that is old school.
This is the original. I'm still looking for the original She-Hulk graphic novel, actually.
Oh, I have it, I think. Or I did. The John
But I
Byrne
also
one?
have, since this is an X-Men podcast, God Loves Man Kills.
Are you talking about the John Byrne She-Hulk one off?
Yeah, the original graphic novel.
I either have it or I did have it and I traded it in a while ago.
Oh, wow.
Got it. I didn't know you were looking for it.
There's a few of those original graphic novels I'm after. I have the God
I
Loves
think I have
Man
a
Kills.
collection that had it in it, and I went and got it, so I didn't
wow.
think I needed it anymore. But I'll check see if I still have it, because if I do, we'll figure something out.
Oh yeah, we'll figure something.
But yeah.
out.
Anyway, so next episode will be in 2 weeks' time. Well, not this weekend, but next weekend. And I believe I have some irons in the fire, but I think I will be talking with Don Mann, who is a organizer for the East Coast Comic Expo, and I've always wanted to talk to someone that kind of does these
put together a con.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to talk to someone about that. So I believe Don will be my next guest at the moment. I just got a new follower on Facebook, so maybe he's listening to the show. Corey Furman, if you're listening, thank you for following my other podcast, the Graphic History Podcast.
There you have it. You guys want a T-shirt? This one's for you.
That's right.
Let us know. We'll get those made up eventually, but let us know if you want some. We'd love to gauge.
I feel like it loses luster when you know he comes back and tries to kill everybody.
I don't think it does. It's all about the catchphrase. This
Marv.
one's for you, Marv. And you know what? He can come back and you can still appreciate him as a person.
It's true. He's got the dark eyes, which means he's evil now. So
you can also listen to my podcast, The Q-Tours of Trek. We did a Debate 9 recently where we debate different ideas of topics on Star Trek, like is the Prime Directive a good policy? And should a Cardassia rebuild itself?
If they actually followed it,
help
probably.
Of outside powers. What?
If they actually followed it, probably.
Well, you know what? It's complicated. We get into it in a new segment we did called Class L Probe. Where
So, do you remember Wizard Magazine when that was a thing?
Of course.
So they had a segment one time. Me and Dave Cutler used to joke about it, where they had the it was like the employee evaluation report for the Watcher, Uatu, and it was like him filling out all the times that he felt compelled to interfere in events. It was like Galactus was going to eat the Earth. I felt compelled to interfere. It was like this was going to happen. I felt compelled to interfere. One man was overcharged $1 for his coffee. I felt compelled to interfere. Like it just gets, as you go down the list, it gets less and less important as the things he interferes in. And there's all these notes from the other Watchers, like this guy is bullshit. Like let's get rid of him. And I feel like that's the Prime Directive is like that. It's like we have this thing that's the core of our ability that we can interfere, yet they do it all the time.
But yeah, check it out. The Q-Tours of Trek. We got an episode coming up.
It's a great show.
Space. Yeah, we had Andre on.
You've been on space for like 3 weeks now. What are you guys are just discussing space?
My partner went away for a week for a funeral.
I see. Okay.
We're delayed.
I was going to say, like, how long can we just discuss the concept of space?
No, we haven't done space yet, but it's coming. It's our next episode. And we've got good stuff. I have an interview coming up with a Star Trek Discovery Zone, Michael Chan. We've got a lot of big things coming up.
And you had myself on the show, and it was a lot of fun too.
We had, you were our first contact segment, and Michael Chan will be our second.
Oh wow!
So that's going to be fun.
I'm in good company.
He just was on Discovery recently. Did an episode, had a scene with Oded Fair, who people may know from the original Mummy, not the original, but the great Brendan Fraser Mummy.
The Universal. Oh yes, the actor that's been in Discovery recently. That guy.
Yeah, Oded Fair. Yeah. And listen to my positive podcasts or Live Long and Podcast, Super Mated Brothers, Trivia Debates, which I'm going to be on the next one. Well, not me necessarily, but Mr. Worf will be debating.
Oh,
it won't be me. It'll be Mr. Worf. Yeah, okay. But Mr. Worf is going to win that debate.
You better nail that voice.
Tune in.
All right.
Worf's been showing up in a lot of podcasts recently, so he kind of got called in. But you know what? I never showed this picture. Check that out. There's Shadow King right there with Storm.
Was it our background at the start of the episode? Because I gave you that one.
That's not the one. Is it? Oh, maybe that is the one. Okay. Well, you know what? Andre's already taken care of it. Here it is. Here's Andre's version right here. Oh, not that one.
Yeah,
this one.
That's it.
Yeah. Good job, Andre.
Thank
Keeping
you.
the art fresh for the podcast.
That's right.
So
That's
next
me.
week, ladies and gentlemen, we are not going to review Red Dawn. We are going to review Pride of the X-Men, which was a precursor to this beloved series that we have been reviewing for you all in many ways. And we talked about it a bit on our interview with the Leewalds. But the following week, after we review Pride of the X-Men, we will be doing an interview with Rick Hoberg, who was an artist on Pride of the X-Men and artist and main creator on X-Men, the animated series. So
yes, so we're excited for that. So yes, your homework is to I believe it's on YouTube, because I hope so, because I haven't seen it yet, so I got to watch it.
Is it not on Disney Plus? Did Disney Plus not get the rights to Pride
maybe
of the
not.
X-Men?
I will check. If they have it, then it's on there. If not, then I'll have to.
I didn't look, but I just
it's the pilot
it
for Pride of the X-Men. Yes, I'll be watching that as well. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
It should be fun.
Pride of the X-Men.
We talked about it at length with the Leewalds.
We did.
So,
the animation is so good in that series.
Yeah, I'm excited to check
it out.
So
crisp.
As a Nightcrawler
and
fan,
you know what?
Show where he's in it.
I mentioned to the Leewalds how I thought the personality of some of the voice actors that X-Men animated ended up getting would have kind of pushed that forward. But you know who did voices for Pride of the X-Men? Alan Oppenheimer, who you may know, the famous voice of Optimus Prime.
Oh, that's Peter Cullen.
Oh, Peter Cullen, Alan Oppenheimer. Oh no, Alan Oppenheimer's Skeletor. My bad.
Oh, that
Alan
makes
Oppenheimer's Skeletor. Yeah.
All right, cool.
And also Frank Welker, who is a big voice actor.
Yeah, he was Megatron.
Yeah, exactly. So
There's
they're both on that show, and they played minor characters. I'm like, oh wow, Welker and Oppenheimer. They must have been Xavier and Magneto, but no, they were Blob and Toad.
Interesting.
So very interesting. I thought that was kind of funny. So yeah, we'll look forward to that part of the X-Men next week, and then we'll do our interview with Rick Oberg, and then we'll be back with Red Dawn. But
thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's been a pleasure. See you in a week.
Yeah. Well, one sec. I know it's a long episode, but contact us. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your reviews. We want to know what you like about the show and what you don't like about the show, because I throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. So I would love to know what's sticking with y'all. And, follow us on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. We're everywhere. Our audio-only podcast, which if you're not liking the quality of the video one, I usually fix it up a little for the audio-only one. But other than the disaster at the beginning of this episode, I think we're good now. I think we figured it all out. You've heard no choppiness this episode, Andre?
There's a little bit coming. Not much, but just a hair.
Oh, no.
Not a lot. I think it's something to do with the live stream. I don't know.
Oh,
it's not bad. Well, it's light years better than it was.
Okay, well, I'm gonna listen to it back and see what I can.
All right, you got it. You'll get it.
That sucks. All right, like, review, subscribe.
Catch you. All right, we'll get her. We'll get there. Catch you next time,
everybody.
Oops.
1, 2, 3.